We are back here at Deadlock Fight Night, Europe, number 22. ZP here with Jake and VP once more fighting their way back into the money match. And they do it, Jake, slightly more unconventional draft. They go double playmaker. They get the Paradox Holiday in the beginning, and they make it work all game long. But it's interesting to see just how much the meta change from week to week, where, Kelvin on top last week, at least in pick priority, and this week, gone like the wind.
Yeah, untouched. We'll see if it continues here with one win. I mean, they are our top dog right now in Europe, so I'm going to take my cues from them as far as the meta goes. In the end, that last game, I think, was kind of classic VP. Get yourself a lead and just build on it brick by brick, like little opportunity by little opportunity, whether it's the Urn fights or sealing a jungle camp here and there. They just seem to get further and further ahead until at some point the advantage is insurmountable and they're able to close out the game. And that's been the thing that they haven't been able to do against one win is get that advantage going in the first place. If they could maybe get an early lead here, I can see this being a more competitive game. But so far, one win has just been undeniably dominant in the laning phase, almost always coming out of that early, first that 10, 15 minutes with the advantage in the match.
All right, but of course, before we get super deep there, I got to bring in DDK, who's going to be an analyst with us as we hop into the money match here in EU. And, Dan, what have you thought so far, from week to week here, some of the changes here from VP, just meta-wise, again, 1 week?
Yeah, I mean, I think for VP, they have to be thinking about the one-win matchup. It's really the only matchup that causes them problems. And they have to ask the question, is it that one win have figured out how the game works better than us, or are we making mistakes? And if they think it's the former, then they have to adapt more towards one win style, which is also interesting because that will give them more leverage in the draft. If they're both competing more actively for the same types of picks, then this is kind of the final we could see. And just looking at that first match that we saw, it already felt like we're starting to see more gravitation from VP towards more playmakers, like more of an early lane focus in that regard, better scaling. So I'm optimistic that we might get a really interesting series of drafts in the final.
But take a look at it here. We're not going to wait too long before getting directly into the draft. But, we got to bring up the one-win roster, talk about who is making one-win tick, who's really been bringing them over the top, and, why they have been our kings of Europe for a while now. And, for me, I look at the roster, there's a lot to be said. You could talk about overseas, you could talk about even Xenon in recent weeks. But for me, when I think about who's the heart and soul of one win and, the addition they had to their team where they really started winning, it's got to be ABL for me. Just what ABL has done for the team, and not only versatility, but just continually able to carry, whether it be on heroes like Yamato, heroes like the Calico, even Pocket at times, right? ABL has just been a force, Jake.
Yeah, ABL's been great on like some of these heavier spirit nuker type carries, but I've also been really impressed by Xenia, MT Dream, Xenon. I mean, across the board, this whole roster has really been coming into their own. I think they've always been insane individually, but they've really been able to combine into that superstar squad that they were maybe hoping to be as they assembled this team, where all the individuals, yes, they're still having big games, but now they're really firing on all cylinders. The coordination, the team play has caught up to that level of play, and so far, VP have not been able to answer that in the last few weeks. I mean, they've had another week to go back to the drawing board and rethink the way they want to approach this match, but we still have to see whether it's been enough. I mean, one win team is also continuing to improve, continuing to grind the game and push their own limits.
One thing I'll add too, because Flammable's name was not mentioned, but I actually think that Flammable's Sinclair, or just the Sinclair dynamic that obviously, Flammable's the guy that would play it on the team. I feel like this is another potential meta shift we may see, because one win we're leveraging Sinclair's like amazing ability in the early lane, as well as obviously that late game disabling usage with the Hex for multiple opponents and all the rest of it. They were leveraging that really well, and the split pushing potential, like the aggressive potential. So Sinclair, I'm really curious where that will go. Looking at this this next match as well.
Yeah, I feel like you got to ban Flammable Sinclair. He's so good at it. It adds this like huge disabling, challenging thing. And the way one win wants to play, man, they're so good at getting aggressive and punishing you. Something like that long AoE disable is just such a huge threat. And then it makes it so awkward to draft with the Sinclair. There's all these ults you don't want to give, the Kelvin, the 7 that you want to have on your own team, but then you really have to think twice about drafting some of these more powerful characters just because of Flammable, just because of the fact that he might do more with that tool than you can.
Well, speaking of the draft, we are ready to get into it. Let's see what VP decides to pick. Where you think back to the first game, it was Paravision. They won, or rather, what's it called? They won the Mo and Krill 1v1 and they decided to defer. VP, with their choice, they also decided to defer here, Jake. So consensus from the EU teams right now may be second pick is best pick.
Curious what the 1-win ban is going to be. Last time VP in this spot, I believe, banned the Calico. Something that I think 1-win also would love to have in their draft. Fits both of their styles. And they're going to be the ones banning the Sinclair. Wow. So interesting. They think they don't want to take it first pick, but they are scared it might go in the second too, is sort of my read on the way this ban goes. For VP, I feel like I just think Mirage is so insane. Like, I just think this hero is like always broken. So I feel like you should ban it if you don't have first pick, and it's a great opener since it fits in any kind of draft, no problem. But maybe VP have a different perspective. Maybe they're more scared of the GT or something else.
Just disappointed.
I agree with the Mirage. Also, just because I think 1-win would probably pick it up. Because I feel like Mirage is like, we saw Zenon do really well for 1-win last week on the Mirage. And especially, you know, if VP get that Mo and Krill, which is not necessarily a priority for 1-win, but for VP, Mo and Krill has been more of a priority and has been a great staple. I definitely think, you know, Mirage can really help to give you that early lane strength, which obviously we know 1-win indexes for really heavily.
My bow is yours.
And again, the GT going first, so GT still highly valued, but VP also put together a really good draft against that previously. And now for VP, do they come in here and decide, go with double playmaker? It worked for them last time against a Great Talent draft where they forced a GT player to basically be very reserved for a huge portion of the game. You know, if you're VP, unless it was like more tailored to Paravision, maybe they do come in here and go Holiday Paradox Jake. There's one part. Is Paradox gonna be in the next part?
Yeah, I mean, that isn't, I wouldn't hate the concept because you do know that you have at least one guaranteed target that you can just be hunting all game in the Great Talent. And, you know, if you can shut down her game, then she's going to be much less effective, like consistently over the course of the match. You know, you lose some of those early game deaths. You're not really that same level of threat that you might otherwise be. But at the same time, it does really limit your draft and it's very early to take it. Hiding. Yeah, they're going to go with the pocket instead, which actually, I like this. This is a little bit, this is a lot more conservative in terms of you're not going actually Paradox Holiday, which is like really overlapping. You get two heroes that are great at getting on top of Great Talent, that are happy to initiate super aggressively, but you're not doubled up on the actual pure catch heroes.
The other thing too is that I was going to say, in addition to Sinclair Unfathomable, I feel like Empty Dreams on Pocket is super dangerous to get 1-win as well. So they take that out of the equation.
Kelvin. Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, I don't like the early Kelvin pick from 1-win, and I also think VP picking the Pocket early is smart because a lot of 1-win's success has come off the back of adopting Pocket and bringing Pocket back into the meta for EU, right? So you've decided, okay, 1-win, let's see how good you are without the Pocket. We've taken it early, and now, I mean, do they go Paradox with the Kelvin here? They go Yamato. Okay, they take away the Yamato from Listic here, but now if you're VP, you can replicate at least part of what you did in the early game last time. You can grab the Paradox. You're not going to have the same front line where now maybe you have to get something like the stick or a Shiv, but what made you have a really good early to mid game ramp, you can replicate that all in this draft now, Dan.
Yeah, they absolutely can. I do feel like the Kelvin does create the opening, like here, for example, getting the Mirage, keeping on the Mirage, they got the Pocket.
They're gonna have Paradox, by the way. They have to.
Yeah, they have so much flexibility here on how they can limit. Because 1-win, I feel like they haven't got like, they're definitely struggling a little bit. I feel like they're a bit behind after the Kelvin pick. Because I also don't think VP were going to contest, you know, the Kelvin pick necessarily, that it was high on their list. So unless, again, we don't know what's been going on in some of the scrims. So maybe they know something we don't. The Bebop is good as well because I was expecting that maybe that'd be a good way to bypass not getting Paradox, but maybe they still get Paradox now.
I think they can also grab a Mo Krill here for VP. You know, if 1-win do go grab the Paradox, you could respond with the Mo Krill to whether if you're punishing Paradox after her swap in or just like making it much more difficult for Yamato and Kelvin to time their ultis properly with the threat of the combo and the pickoffs on the side lanes. And that's interesting to see. I guess without Bebop, you're worried too much about the threat from Vindicta, but I'm not sure VP were really going to go that way, assuming it's Michaelis on Pocket again. I mean, I guess they could always, but like Obakam has played a lot of the Holiday. I think Demo was on our last game, but nonetheless, some of the Vindicta player heroes have already gotten heroes I think are more likely for them this game.
It was smart to turn
and they still got the Paradox in the end. So Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. They don't ban the Paradox because they want to pick it back on the turn. They get rid of Bebop to give one win an even worse early game. And, now I'm thinking about it here, Dan. Looking at the one win setup,
I think one win really
early
needs
game,
Mo.
I feel like no matter what they pick now, it's going to have some issues, to put it mildly. I mean, VP, they are all in on early game monsters where you think about the power spike you get from the very first Pocket Affliction, right? You think about what Holiday and Paradox do in general as heroes, or Mirage's overall lane supremacy. I mean, one win, they can maybe get a bit of a gap here in frontline if they go like something like Shiv Abrams, but it's going to be tough. Also, VP, they still have options like 7 on the board if one win doesn't pick it here.
Yeah, I think I agree with Jake on the Mo pick, just because it's going to have a bit more dominance in the early lane. I feel like Shiv is kind of, I mean, it's not particularly strong in the early lane, so now you're going to start to run into that issue. And this is not a conventional one-win draft. This is not what has been winning for them. So I'm super curious how they mitigate the issues with this setup.
I also think there's a possibility that VP play Dynamo with this draft. I think it's like a possible final pick for VP. I think Mo is, I think one win really needs Mo. They need some kind of lockdown. Okay, 7. Ooh. I would also not hate just seeing them take the Mo for themselves to block pick it here. Because, I mean, one win team have their only lockdown is, I guess, the Kelvin Shelter's lockdown, the Great Talent ulti is lockdown, but not great. And then I guess the Viscous roll, but you don't have really like a reliable single target catch. Yeah, you are like a scary frontliner, but how are you going to catch somebody who's pushing out a lane like a Pocket? How is Pocket ever getting caught this game, frankly? I guess it's Frozen Shelter is like the one real thing and a bunch of items that catch people. But maybe now, okay, you can at least get one. I think that's like just what you need as your final pick here, is somebody who can make individual catches happen. And frankly, I mean, it could be Lash, but like, I feel like Mo is probably the best left in the pool for the single target catch.
See if the Mo comes up through. It's just like, yeah, I'm saying it's like, does Dan have a point? It looked like Dan had a point, but
whatever they throw.
Okay,
they finish off with Abrams. So okay, I mean, one win has an advantage in frontline. I mean, VP's gonna have to play a little bit more like hit and run, especially in the beginning, because I mean, you have Geist as your frontline, but also I feel like lack of frontline when you're able to secure the Pocket early on isn't even that big of a deal, because what's gonna happen is the Pocket's gonna dive in, probably hit the frontline with Affliction, and it's not really that much of a frontline anymore for at least the early part of the game. So to me, I look at this draft and look, there's definitely outs for one win scaling wise into the late game, but VP doesn't necessarily scale badly in the late game, but their early and mid game ramp to me is absolutely ridiculous.
You have to feel like, if you're giving one win the benefit of the doubt, you have to feel like a second pick Kelvin, that there is some method to the madness there, because that does change the trajectory of the draft massively, because it's such an early pickup and it goes against fundamentally kind of how they have been drafting, and also what's highly in competition that VP would want to take away from one win. So you have to give one win. You know, they've been winning multiple weeks now, so they are the top dog. So let's hope there's some method to what appears to be the madness as they break this meta. What we would expect from how they've set the meta, to be honest.
All right, so we're getting on into it, and we'll see what the early lanes are. I mean, to me, I feel like if you're one win here, Jake, you're kind of looking for a scenario where you hope one of your lanes just somehow gets really far ahead and just creates something a VP has to adapt to, rather than VP just winning cleanly and making something get way far ahead. I don't know, but you look at the lanes, what's looking likely to you right now?
I mean, nice start opening here. Trades looks like they're going the way of this Shiv Calvin lane, which is a really scary lane, and it's a great level 1 trade so far. Virtus.pro really going to be pulling out off that the level 1 trade, and all the creeps. I mean, they might be out of XP range for some of those. Okay, now it seems like Wave is going to push on their tower, but pretty massive damage already. Shiv continue to pour it on. Oh, the thing I mean, this is a great start for one win on this side lane, but what I'm more interested to see is basically I think one win have drafted in a way where they're all about the mid-game team fighting, all about like the Urn drop-off, 6-man fighting in the Kelvin Dome. I mean, this is like an unholy Kelvin comp of you got the Viscous roll inside of it, and oh man, this lane could go from bad to worse here. I think Geist is going to die. Oh, missed on that dash, but still scary for Geist.
Ridiculous that Listic lives there, miss or no. Dan, any final thoughts before we get a little bit deeper into it and call you back later?
Yeah, I think in terms of the lane matchups, I'm actually pretty excited to see how this turns out. I think obviously this Kelvin Shiv lane seems pretty dangerous, so that's a good thing for one win. The mid lanes, I think it should perhaps go towards Virtus.pro, but I think it'll be heavily contested by one win. I think they're pretty competitive there. And then so what I'm ultimately curious about is who is going to shift the edge in their favor on the far right lane, because that's a little bit more unknown. I could see the Viscous Abrams being able to have a decent showing here, but it's just unclear for me. I don't know what you guys think about this far right lane, but I think this could really set the tone if those other lanes are kind of more contested for both teams.
What I think for the far right lane, the thing we've seen repeatedly, regardless of who's playing Pocket nowadays, is that Pocket hits 3K, lands double Affliction, and then you get massive Guardian advantage for minutes on end. The impact of the very first Affliction Pocket has right now seems to be just ridiculous. The way the game is in 3 lanes with less rotating. I'm not sure what your thoughts are, Jake, but to me, that just seems to be the trend that we've seen, is that the Pocket 3K spike is unreal.
Yeah, normally I agree. I do think it's just a pretty sick lane, though, against the Affliction spike with Viscous Abrams, 2 of the best heroes in the game. Like, if you cube on the Affliction, you don't get hit by it. And Abrams actually has, like, one of the better tanking skills in the game for something like an Affliction. And I also think pre 3K, Abrams is such a sick last hitter. He could, be the one to hit the tempo first and to try and initiate with like the roll or something like that on the 7, who could be a little bit defenseless there. I mean, 1 minute up 2K. This is very, very early in the game. This lead doesn't necessarily mean the most, but it's a little bit scary. Usually we don't see a 2K gap opening up within the first 10 minutes.
A lot of that is because of the Shiv Kelvin lane, where, we actually didn't touch on that, but I think that is part of why Kelvin was so heavily valued last week in EU, was just anytime we saw Shiv, it was only picked after Kelvin was secured, and they were both playing in a lane together.
Yeah, we talk a lot about... Yeah, we talk a lot about the synergy. The lane is great. The late game, the healing for Shiv is nice value as well. But I think the whole squad here, with the exception of Grey Talon, actually also fit really well with Kelvin's strategy. I mean, Abrams and Yamato are also going to be able to really push the level of aggression, and the 3 of them can stack together. You're throwing these AoE healing grenades and like just healing a ridiculous amount throughout the course of the fight, spamming those skills. VP, I think they will eventually be able to outscale that and like kind of outdo it in the ultra late game. But I think mid-game, I mean, the Urn timings, I'm a little worried for VP. Like, they need to really rely on tools like the 7 ulti and then pickoffs from their catch heroes. But this is still, I think, winnable for 1 win. They rather than drafting, like I would say, like a meta draft for 1 win of getting like the top prio heroes overall. And so you could look at the draft and say, okay, VP got in general higher prio heroes, and I would agree with that. But 1 win have drafted a style that is like, it's very much clear what their game plan is. They're gonna group up, they're gonna get ridiculous heals off Kelvin, and they're just gonna be like unkillable in the team fights.
No wonder why Michaelis dropped the question mark there. Xenon was already 1 foot into the grave. Empty Dreams, though. Turn right back around, 1 for 1. One interesting thing to me, by the way, like, it's not a stat that we track, or at least that I think we track. Production, they're wizards. But I'm pretty sure if we did track pauses, Zanya would be the world leader by at least 50%. And I just, at this point, have to assume Zanya just has, like, the worst internet around. Because every time it's like lag, pause.
We should track pauses to shame the players. That would go kind of crazy. MVP, most pauses. Most valuable pause of the game goes to...
Hey, tactical pause is a thing that happened every now and then. But also an owl just getting dropped on to Zergi's head. Zergi, though, doesn't care too much at the moment. Also, you see tempo-wise, just the lane advantage being gained. It wasn't on screen, but Michaelis just recently dropping Affliction, and, what else do you see in return but, a nearly dead Viscous and a very pushed-up lane right after.
I mean, this is a hugely tanky Shiv. He has a full Resto Locket. He's not scared of this at all. I mean, needs all the heals, though, to really successfully tank through. But, I mean, this is the potency of this comp, that he can just tank tower, tank 2 heroes, and still be at half HP.
Right now, lane's getting interesting. Zergi dropping the Storm Cloud. Plenty of clearance on this, forcing 2 out all at the same time. And meanwhile, again, good guarding damage, but hang on from afar. Seismic Slam, Zanya getting right back in. Respected, at least, in turn.
And they're getting me dove. Yeah, Pocket's super happy to see these low players. 2K dodges the pin, Pocket behind tower. It's going to be easy cleanup. Should be tower going down as well. Viscous trying to run, but should be caught here, yeah, with the cape. And this is tower going down. I mean, VP, we talked about this is like the lane that they need to explode on. Ooh. So far, they've done it. Overseas, though, I think really intelligently rotating in here. Going to defend his team's tower. That's really nice value. If they can keep the lane pushed out, though, that's what's going to be scary.
Yeah, it's value, but it comes at a cost because your middle lane just gets completely dove on right after. Yeah, we're dealing with a Mirage and Holiday at the same time. Pretty darn difficult. So, yeah, I still think it was the right rotation for Overseas to move over there, but it does not come without cost.
Guys now, with that life drain, pressuring out some of the players on this lane that's been such a thorn in their side. No Kelvin ulti for a while, so this is a timing where you could try to pressure the Shiv, and they're going to definitely trying to leverage it. TP from Sharik, though, still wasn't enough to secure those kills, and you know Kelvin and Shiv, they're going to be healed up in no time. The Owl comes in to help restore the lane tempo. Damage goes down again. This Guardian has to be going down here. There's no way Overseas can hold it off on his own, right?
You know, it's interesting. I think Zanya got pummeled while the Owl was being channeled because it's not entirely free, right? Like Overseas' presence in the lane immediately gone, but okay. Rotation over from the Viscous, real nice. Sets up the pick off on the Zergy, and Overseas gets to move on forward. It's going to be a 2 here. Looking for Michaelis. Michaelis able to get into the suitcase, move around. Satchel though may not be enough. Gets. Wait, Michaelis is dead.
Oh my God! He almost
nearly lived there. That would have been the most insane play if Michaelis actually lived. It was still really good, but that was dangerously close to him actually fending it off in full.
Yeah, Seven gonna run back in. I mean, still that play is so valued, right? Not only getting the kill onto Xenon, but making Overseas so incredibly low he can't defend the tower. It's gonna allow Zergy to grab that Guardian, and this has put Seven in a pretty decent spot now. Jungle is spawning. I mean, this is the dream for Seven, to be an early tower taker. Not every hero, I think, benefits the same, but when Seven can just start farming, it's great. And this is Kelvin, under tower, bursted, can't even get the ultimate off. Beautiful catch by D-Mob. Owl's coming in to help reset that lane pressure, but too little too late.
Yeah, and I mean, that was kind of right place, right time, and just enough damage to prevent the Frozen Shelter from coming on in. However, you take a look at the rotations here. D-Mob now being pretty mobile around the map. VP, meanwhile, stacking 3 in mid. And, you know, Jake, they might keep 3 in mid until Mid Guardian is down. It wouldn't be the first time VP has done this sort of rotation. And if OneWin isn't careful in how they defend, they easily could lose, you know, either Yamato or GT in turn. So, not the worst idea, but as I say that, VP does look to be splitting off a little bit more right now. Now it's Obikim looking for a piece of left lane.
I mean, this is the threat, though. When that Kelvin Dome is up and you get caught inside, you're just done for. There's still 2 heroes here, so they're going to be able to turn this around. Going on to Kelvin, who's now low on skills. Devil CC'd here. Potentially would come down. Man, that's a ridiculous amount of heals. There's no way Kelvin lives. He gets swapped under tower and then tornadoed, and they still can't finish him off. I mean, the Shiv is a big threat, so you can't exactly dive and chase that one down.
Meanwhile, ABL able to get the Guardian down.
This is the content we love to see. Seven stealing a nice camp. Very good for him. I mean, it's actually really important. He's able to like take some aggressive camps down, able to step into the jungle, hold this wave. I mean, I think this is actually really fantastic start for Zergy. We could see him have like a really huge value in the late game, and that's going to be a huge problem for OneWin team. I mean, until Zanya has Phantom Strike, it's not that easy to cancel the 7 ulti up in the air. And I mean, that damage can be massive when you're all stacked up the way the OneWin comp wants to play.
Another Kelvin abduction in place on the flammable. Down, the Owl just a little bit off timing-wise to make for the save. Also, I will say in terms of draft wins, I think letting VP get the 7 as late in the draft as they did was a mistake. I think there's a big power difference right now between the 7 and the Infernus, and which is reflected in draft priority, and giving Zergy the 7. I think it's real tough for OneWin.
Man, this great movement from Overseas, dancing away so well. Ultimate from pocket only onto the Yamato, who just rips Shadow Transformation, takes that one off. Chasing Mirage. Difficult kill, those. Mirage is tanky. He's willing to fight. This corner.
Yeah, maybe not tanky enough. I mean, they need the support from pocket to force ABL back. ABL not afraid of Mirage at all in the vacuum. And ABL, I mean, you look at economy allocation, definitely one of the bigger threats for OneWin. Although OneWin's, you know, oddly enough, pretty evenly balanced. Even, you know, Zanya's been able to stay in it on the Abrams. Everyone effectively an equivalent threat.
I think Empty Dreams on the Shiv has also had a nice start to the game with quite a few kills. Still, we're yet to see a major advantage breakout. Maybe the Urn fight is going to be the opportunity to do just that. OneWin team, though, grabbing Zergy, that's a huge kill, exactly what they wanted to find. Across the map, Holiday being pressured, forced back. And this Urn turn-in looks too difficult for VP without more resources. I mean, they have 3 players on the other side of the map, so they're not even genuinely really looking for the attempt.
You know, the thing that's a little bit tough here, what in the world? Space grapples, even if it doesn't immediately result in a kill. But, so you look at where One Win is at right now. One Win, it's kind of the double benefit where they can not only contest Urn, but also put pressure on the right Guardian at the same time. Like, they kind of want to have people over there to begin with, so they're not even caring that they've overcommitted a little bit to defend Urn turn-in because VP has to expend the same amount right now, Jake, just not to lose Guardian.
Yeah, and they're pretty happy, I think, with the state of affairs there on this side of the map. Kelvin as well in the enemy jungle. I wonder if he's in the basement right there. It looks like it must be on the mini-map. Abrams, though, catches one, maybe gone too deep. No charge, not really an easy way to get out of this. Is cubed under tower, but this follow-up stun from 7. It's going to be stunned under the tower in the Kelvin ulti. Should be stabilizing him for the moment, and now it's Paradox who maybe finds herself in a bit of trouble.
It's not enough damage inside the bubble. It's enough to save Abrams, but the shelter is down, the seismic slam is down. And One Win right now. Maybe looking for a little bit of a reset. However, ABL pick up the Urn in the interim. Are they? And VP looks to be contesting tooth and nail, but you know, for One Win, you had a small window to turn in, but I think that window is effectively gone because you take a look at the ultimate situation, right? If you try and turn in about like 10 more seconds, you're gonna get hit with Storm Cloud.
Yeah, looks like they might want to go for it though. Shiv just boosted to get here to force this fight. Abrams very low, very risky to stand that close to the fight. Kelvin over the top on the back line, playing with some of his HP. Doesn't have ulti, and there's they talked about that Storm Cloud over the top, but hold on, it's gone. Overseas calls the bluff.
Zergy got chunked before the Storm Cloud started, gave them enough to stop the storm. VP though fighting on back, tooth and nail, trading out. 3 for 3 or now 3 for 4. Meanwhile, the Urn still yet to be turned in, and all the chaos picked up by Overseas towards the very end. It's gonna be, nope, not turned in just yet. Demov comes on in, gets the pick off.
And Sharik has a lot of HP here, though. Sharik can be that final nail in the coffin. And he does. He grabs the Urn turn-in. So in the end, it finally goes the way of VP. It's such a bloodbath, though, in the lane. I think in the end, it's close to a wash. The Urn is the advantage for VP. Kills going pretty much the same both ways.
Yeah, I think about ways that fight could win better. I mean, One Win, I think they forced the Urn turn-in at the last possible second. I think if they wait even 5 more seconds, Zergy starts a Storm Cloud off at full HP rather than half HP, and it's a very different fight. Instead, by the time Zergy was able to Storm Cloud, he'd already been chunked down to half, and you could actually kill a 7 if they start a Storm Cloud that low at this point in the game. So, very, very on the margins when you look at cooldown timings going into that fight. But, you know, in the end, 67k, 68k, and still anyone's game.
Yeah, Surge of Power probably coming up here for Zergy. There it is. Pretty big spike for the 7. Very important for your fighting potential with that 3rd skill, especially giving you that move speed bonus. A nice little annoyance for Michaelis getting knocked off the zip.
Right now, pretty there's just a little bit of fishing in middle. You got both the Paradox and the Holiday hanging out same area. Not a whole lot in terms of objectives. It's a good old game of fishing.
Maybe a good time to call in Dan and see his perspective on the game so far. It's been a little bit quiet, and I think both teams going to do a little bit of jungle. We see what Dan's been seeing in the game.
Yeah, I think that last fight around 13 minutes around the end was kind of interesting because One Win actually, despite losing the first tower, managed to recover 2 in their advantage, which would have given them initiative. But after losing that Urn fight, they kind of lost all momentum on the map. So now it's in VP's hands, and that's not where One Win wanted to be.
I love the reaction time there from Flamble, where Empty Dreams just starts getting gauge shot, and you just look at the map and you see Kelvin just like, I'm on the way, drops the frozen shelter, keeps Empty Dreams alive. So, you know, lasso for a shelter there. As we now have the second Urn of the game. Down and on the way. Zergy, meanwhile, picking up a Guardian in turn. Both teams 2 Guardians to 2. And it's Xenon with the all-important first pickup of the Urn for the second Urn.
Yeah, a few Guardians going down here. This will be a big flashpoint. I mean, I think this is really stabilizes like a key point of the meta these days in Deadlock is like you really need to fight for these Urns. The top teams are never giving them up for free unless there's a major disadvantage. You know, it's just a lot of souls on the map and a lot of opportunity to score in a big way. Even if you bring a lot of your players to the Urn drop off, right? Like at least you're still doing something of value. You're still shoving lanes. You're still maybe stealing jungle camps.
Ooh, but that's huge. Lasso's on cooldown now. So Xenon able to just dash away at the lend, prevent the max range lasso. Now you have the counter engage coming in from when swap in. Obakam not able to get out, swap or no. Clean pickoff obtained, and now 6-on-5, 1 win. If they want to force the issue to Urn, they could, although Stormcloud's still a danger, and Empty Dreams might be getting caught here. Zergy diving on in, absolutely no fear whatsoever, burns down the Shiv, evens it out, Jake. No Stormcloud required.
Zergy's on a really nice spike here with the 3rd skill. He's going to be really strong whenever that's online. They are going to be losing the Guardians, so all Guardians down, but I mean, Virtus.pro trying to respond, trying to take a Walker here, diving the Great Talon under it, can't even get the Owl off. And now look, Walker's going down here. They've got the follow-up for this, no problem. Defense is just not here in time.
It's a full team teleport coming in for 1 and trying to punish Michaelis. Michaelis trying to use mobility, drops the case, but instead gets dropped in turn. Now, 1 up, 4-1 win. Urn, turn, and set up. I mean, this is still a very troublesome fight. You know, first and foremost, they have to dodge Swamp. Second off, they have to get Zergy low before Stormcloud comes in. But this side, we're gonna Frozen Shelter. We're gonna try and cut people off here. They're looking for the Paradox. They're gonna be able to get Obakam down here. They pop the goo ball, and wait, it got Zergy! The goo ball got Zergy! That is unreal! Xenon with the interrupt!
Just rolled him over. VP down 2. 1 win, managed to keep everybody alive. Abrams is low, but now the Talon Bird chasing in. Pop Sharik. Abrams kiting back now, trying to stay alive. The one who's potentially vulnerable, but the rest of 1pin almost certainly going to come in and help clean this one up. Listic escape far from guaranteed here, caught off on the side. I think 1min are going to look to keep hunting this. She's so low on the Geist, wants to find some kind of a hell swap there in the corner. So it's a little bit scary to chase around those sharp bends.
That was ridiculous. And, you know, Jake, right now I'm trying to think, how much of that is Xenon with the right, you know, mindset and presence to get the goo ball on the Zergy, and how much of that was Zergy just maybe dropping the Stormcloud in the wrong place? I feel like it's a little bit of both there, no?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you always want, I mean, the goo ball's pretty mobile, so it's a little hard maybe to be so high in the air where you can't cancel it, but nonetheless, the fact that it's so instantly canceled and the goo ball was like already on his way to him is a pretty unfortunate fight there for Zergy, who is having a big game, but like needs some of those fights to go his way. This catch onto Shiv, nice shutdown. It should be a shutdown. Hold on, they've got the cube, trying to punch him away, trying to get him around some corners.
Wait. No, he doesn't live. He was close to living, but some things supports are not gonna be able to fix. I think Kelvin just a little bit away to be the save there with Viscous, where you stop and think about it, you have the nice little synergy too of, you know, you got saves and a little bit of healing from the Viscous, and you got the Kelvin on top of it. A lot of ways to empower Empty Dreams.
Yeah, definitely the Shiv is a real threat this game, but has some problems to deal with in this game. I mean, they're in the end, there is a lot of lockdown for him. Probably needs a debuff remover sooner rather than later with like the 7, the stun from 7, the tornado from Sharik, and of course the pocket ulti. That like long-term dot is such a problem for Shiv, even with the damage resist.
All right, so despite some of the back and forth that we've seen, and you know, 1 win with some good plays, still down about 6K to VP in our money match. VP looking to reclaim the throne if you just happen to be turning on in, but you know, right now things a little bit of a lull, Jake, here, where it feels like both teams content to, you know, you do a little bit of look for pickoffs between the Holiday and the Paradox, but you know, for the most part, both teams are really focusing on the Urn fights at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's still a very competitive game, but the fact that 1win haven't been dominant on the Urn fights is, I think, a great sign for VP. I think VP are always going to be better at splitting and farming the map due to their comp. But what I'm worried about them is that, you know, they should struggle in the Urn fights, but so far it's been competitive. It's been very close, and VP isn't afraid to take those despite the threat of the Kelvin.
Speaking of the Kelvin, just go to the rooftop, grab the lasso, bring him on over. It's gonna get the Frozen Shelter out, if nothing else, but likely much more flammable, completely outgunned. The lasso, great pickoff by Dimov, sets up the rest now, right as the Urn is picked up by Xenon, and 1win, they're just gonna try and delay until Flammable's back up. If they can do this without giving up too much in turn, and ABL actually able to get Walker at the same time. Not the worst trades coming out here for 1win, even down to Kelvin.
Still, I think Yamato is in big trouble here. Gonna die for it, but I think ABL is gonna say that's worth created opportunities elsewhere on the map. They grabbed that mid, and if Xenon can grab the Urn turn, and that's be pretty sneaky, but yeah, quick mid boss here. Response coming in from VP. And 1win team, they don't really have the tools to contest this. They could go for it like a cheeky steal, but I think they're just gonna take the Urn turn in and trade. even that might be contested. VP collapsing potentially on the right side of the map.
I think OneWin made the right call there. I think going in from middle at that point with VP just noticing the fact that they could get away with mid would have been a bad idea. But at least you get the Urn and you even things up economically. And they even get the Walker at the start of the fight, so I mean, it wasn't even that bad for ABL. Here we go. Zergy on the Storm Cloud right now. A little bit of re-rotation. OneWin right now trying to defend middle in full, but there is a limit to how deep they can go at this point. 10 seconds here to shelter. Can't quite drop it to get Zergy here just yet. But Zergy still might be going down otherwise. The knockdown gets secured. ABL right over it. And the Walker going on down for VP. But, you know, they give up Zergy in turn. Rejuve or not. Not the worst response by OneWin.
VP need to run, though. They don't have the HP to escape. And yeah, Sharik is going to go down on the Mirage. So this could turn into a potentially decent trade for OneWin. Remember, they are down this Rejuve. So the fact that they're able to get kills, knock down the Rejuve, pretty decent value for them. Still, mid Walker, very powerful. Still 2 Walkers up for VP. So a bit of an advantage in the objectives front. Something that OneWin team probably need to look to clean up in the next few minutes, but probably in the face of the Rejuve just a little bit too much. As I say this, though, hold on, VP getting active as well, trying to catch that Kelvin one more time. He does have that frozen shelter, but the jukes, the ice pad jukes are too much.
Shriek back into the fray. Shriek, no Traveler up, gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way. Meanwhile, OneWin just desperately trying to defend their double vaults, turned into a full-on team fight here. Multiple elevation. Meanwhile, though, ground floor, looking at the Abrams. Taking a little bit of a breather. Rest of OneWin right now. Moving up and forward, right behind the Shiv, and turns into a reset here. Jake, both teams decide, you know what, we're good with this fight. Let's put into it.
Yeah, the Talon trying to defend the wave from the 7. Abrams there too, but instantly stunned to his dead. It's a little too close to the Walker. Zergy, he wants one more shot. Okay, he gets it. Willing to die for it. You know, I don't hate this play. The fact that he was just in the Walker stun range is pretty painful for him after we were just talking about losing the 7 ulti, which is a powerful ulti this game. He just hasn't really been able to find the opportunities. OneWin is way too aware of that.
Zergy just getting stunned as Storm Cloud left, right, and center. Meanwhile, you know, the double vault's still up here after that recent skirmish. This time can be claimed by Listic, who you know, is like, yeah, still look to steal it. I think ABL is heading in soon. See if this turns into a fight. I think Listic has enough clearance to head on out. And now that there is no fight occurring, probably a good time to bring in Dan. And, you know, Dan, what are you thinking from what we've been seeing here so far? Still very even, about 24 minutes into.
Yeah. Oh, we get a pause as well. Lovely.
Perfect time for you, Dan. They're very thoughtful.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting to watch, because the way I thought the game was going to go, I think was kind of, as you were describing, Jake, where you see a bit more dominance from OneWin in some of these like team fights, and that they could carry that momentum out of the early game, which they managed to get before that 30-minute Urn fight, into a lot more aggressive, you know, stealing the Sinner sacrifices and just doing the kind of stuff that we know that they like to do, but just bringing more players to do it, in addition to having more power around the Urn fights and also maybe mid-boss contests. But we've actually seen them on the back foot the entire time, and despite VP getting these aggressive jungle invades as well into their territory, having, as you described, better farming potential in general, OneWin have actually managed, as you say, to like keep the game on parity in terms of the souls, which is really impressive. And none of them are particularly far behind, and no one on VP is particularly far ahead. There's no sort of inflated player. So what's really interesting is that I feel like we're still in this territory where it comes down to these team fights, and there's a lot of great utility for OneWin to be able to have better team fights, but they're going to be more based on having the right setup, the right, you know, because those ults need to go in the right places. Whereas it feels like VP have a bit more flexibility, which again, that used to be what OneWin were really good at with their comps, is having a bit more scrappy team fights where they don't need as much setup. So the dynamics have shifted there, and I feel like that's kind of interesting. And VP, I feel like, are going to be taking the edge to me, because I would have expected OneWin to be further ahead in this stage.
Brings consequences.
The items, and that's a big power spike. Diviner's Kevlar coming in from a KLS. So if you're VP, I feel like this is the point where you're looking to fight. You just got your 6K item on your pocket, and you know, as I say that, look at the KLS right now, roaming with the rest of the team. I think
VP's chasing this. VP,
yeah,
they
VP, you
forced
commit.
that Yamato ulti.
Commit. You just got a big item by, you go for it.
Time to go for more. And Abrams kind of caught out of position, trying to maybe get a flanking charge. Affliction onto this Viscus, who looks like he's got the max Q, but Flammable's down, didn't get the ulti off in time. This is a huge pick off. One Man team are dropping like flies without the Kelvin heals to rely on. This comp falls apart. Something we've seen in the past is that like you run everything building on the thread of Kelvin's healing, and then Kelvin just gets caught in focus fire. And think about VP's comp, they have great catch, they have great burst on an individual. So much pressure on Flammable this game is, I mean, VP are charging for it. This could very well be a patron drop.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking to keep the fire burning right now, looking for a little bit more. Xenon not able to get away. A clean 3, well, it was clean 3. Now they lose 1 in turn, but this is enough an advantage that at the bare minimum, you'd think they're going to be able to get both shrines. One win, trying to stall the ABL on Death's Door, just barely able to get away. Meanwhile, you take a look at VP. They're going to be able to get the buff. They're going to be able to run Urn. However, they're getting chased down. Zergy might be going down here from One Win chasing. Look at how low Zergy is at the moment. And Zergy's not able to get away.
Yeah, it's just going to cost Zergy's life, but I wonder if this will be an Urn turn in. Mirage is taking the safe path here, maybe a little bit worried about the threat in the mid lane. And it proves to be wise. I think One Win team are beelining for that drop-off spot. They're not going to give this one up for free.
Interesting how this game is developed. I think the thing that, I mean, there's always a world where ABL can take over the game, but ABL is not a massive economic advantage over the average player on VP. So, like, we haven't hit the point where Yamato can just, you know, essentially face roll the other team. Also, same deal for the Shiv, where even though Empty Dreams has been supported the entire game long, it's not raid boss Shiv levels. It's, you know, not insignificant Shiv levels, but, you know, One Win hasn't hit any of their ultra major win conditions, and, you know, VP overall, I do think their team does scale a little bit better if Zergy is able to not get interrupted mid-storm cloud. But Listic under attack goes for the pretty early swap, gets stuck in the frozen shelter right after. You know, guys, is pretty survivable, but that's a little bit too much. However, the cavalry is here. Zergy this time dropping a storm cloud. Gets out of it pretty early. Still, though, got decent value for a few seconds. Empty Dreams, though, able to take down the KLS, and now the turn back on the Zergy. Sprayed out of the shift. 3 down for VP. And now, I mean, when is Mid-Boss coming out? I think Mid-Boss is coming back up soon here, Jake.
That's the dream catch right there from Xenia. I mean, on the Abrams, it's taken a while, but still finds the start of that fight really nicely. Xenon clearing some waves, bringing some attention to himself, just going to goo ball away. So a bit of wave pushing value there from the Viscus. And I mean, that's impressive from One Win team. They're able to get those finds. And now, I mean, as much as they're in a vulnerable spot from an objective and a base perspective, I think they have secured a bit of a lead here, something that they can potentially work with as long as the fights keep going their way. Virtus.pro may struggle to close out this game. They need one more big decisive team fight to really put One Win on their heels, but I mean, that find has really brought One Win right back into this game.
So 160k, 153k, One Win now working with an advantage, and I mean, it's actually quite significant, especially the fact that ABL was able to get a decent chunk of that farm. You know, the difference between a Yamato that's even and a Yamato that gets to take very unfair trades is more minimal than you may think. At times it can be as much as just 3 or 4k souls that enable you to be that much more aggressive. So overall, interesting position that both teams find themselves in here. I do think a lot of this comes down to what you're going to get out of the ultimates. VP very reliant on landing big storm clouds, big afflictions. And One Win, absolutely no chill. They're just deciding to bring this into mid, Jake.
I mean, they're doing mid, but they have players trying to contest the Urn at the same time. This is going to cost Viscus his life. Almost certainly he has the roll, but they might have the follow-up damage on it. They're going to grab the Urn turn in. This is probably going to cost them mid-boss. But I wonder, I mean, we talked about this, like One Win took the other side of this trade last time. I think they are going to just get the secure. But Urn and a kill at this point in the game, especially pre-rejuve, One Win have to be a little bit careful. I don't think they necessarily want to fight 5v6 right now. Jeez, no. These massive sprint, the extra stamina, so ridiculous value there on great talent, dashing out of trouble.
Okay. Right now, Rejuvenator to One Win. One Win looking to add on to their lead here so far. However, Empty Dreams and Xenon both getting caught. So, I mean, when you're able to get 2 off of this really does stem the impact of the Rejuvenator, where yes, they'll be back up soon, but you look at the impact on the game. Instead of pushing, VP is now set back to, well, I guess we'll take jungle. And again, it turns out to a game that, on the whole, is remarkably even. And, you know, now we have a bit of lull, a little bit of a jungle break. You know, Dan, what are your thoughts right now?
I think the interesting thing, I think you guys sort of highlighted it already with these teamfight dynamics, that One of the biggest problems for One Win has been DMOV, really. I think, managing to catch the lasso on like key team fight players. Obviously, the Kelvin's the highest priority target. And then obviously the other issue is if One Win are just caught out of position. This is like the whole issue with this type of comp, because their strengths rely on being able to fight together. So that's the dynamic that's at play right now. And I think obviously that's what's responsible for One Win able to win that team fight and turn it around into a mid boss, is them getting the better end of that exchange. And so that's the kind of tug of war we're seeing right now. And so it's actually hard to say who's going to come out on top here, because it comes down to these moments, which looks like we might have another one right now.
Both teams ready to rumble here on the left-hand side, right as Urn spawns. Pickup, often very contested. Michaelis flirting with it, decides against it. One Win.
I mean, One Win wants to find trades here. They still have Rejuve on 5 players. The fact that they forced a goo ball and no value for it. I mean, I guess the value is the Urn pickup. But I mean, Yamato's also across the map trying to chase him right now. This is a really deep dive, and he has no support, even though he's winning that 1v1. Looks like the rest of VP are content to just let that play out, though. They aren't coming to this. They're going to
just pushing
stay on a 5-on-5.
They're going for the full time left. Meanwhile, Zanya, though, able to land the charge in onto Listic. Still committing even after the swap. Swap down for Listic. Listic now low. Listic a real target. Zergy gonna drop the Storm Cloud to try and buy some cover.
Here's the Storm Cloud.
Just that. I mean, gives a little bit of room. Both teams down 1. Rejuve, though, advantage. Still the 1 win. Shadow Transformation not going to be used here. ABL hopping on in. Holiday in his sight. Chases it down. Meanwhile, the back end of the fight, Shariq and Michaelis able to take down 2. ABL still full HP, but a lot to work back from here. There's 1 win. Down and 1 by the numbers. Take a look back over the DMOV, though. DMOV pretty much full HP off to the other side. Catches Flammable on the chase. ABL down long after Shadow Transformation is off the board. And VP getting the better of the fight on the whole, but it's not a huge advantage as 1 win, the Rejuvenators getting them right back up.
I mean, spawn-wise, you're right. Like
they're going to get earned from it, though.
It's not going to let VP win the game, but this is exactly what VP want. Like, they're down Rejuve. They take it off the field now, and they're going to be able to get an Urn turn in. They're going to be able to do a bit of jungling here, and like they kind of like swing the advantage back in their favor. And this is where it's starting to feel like VP just do have a little bit of that better late game scaling in the draft. In the end, playing completely around the Frozen Shelter is pretty ambitious. They are going to get the free Urn, though. I thought it might be, but instead, 1 win instantly deploying all their players that right side of the map. And VP are going to respect it, just going to be content to keep their own at their own walker. But based on the way this game is going, I wouldn't be shocked to see VP just double down and bring 6 and really go for this Urn turn in. I mean, 7,600 souls, pretty significant.
We'll see how this one pans out. I mean, both teams right now just taking a breather. And the interesting thing for 1 win, I mean, you take a look at the ult situation. They don't want to force Urn turn in until at the very least they have Storm Cloud up. They'd also, if it goes a little bit longer, they could do a situation where they could have Shariq off split pushing. 1 win would like to fight now, if they could, but I don't think VP is going to give them the opportunity. It just, again, kind of a forcible delay, reset, go in at full strength sort of situation.
Yeah, especially with Storm Cloud. I mean, it's something that like we see overseas now. I think he's like consistently trying to bird the 7, but you really have to be careful. I mean, you don't have that many reliable stuns. So as much as we were memeing on Zergy for some of the early game stun cancels, in the late game is he gets more and more itemized. He can set up a little bit more and more for the ulti. It is a bit of a problem for 1 win team. I mean, they like the full stack. They like to play under that.
I'm curious on Zergy's items. One of Zergy's picked up Unstoppable recently. This is around
it's so
time.
expensive. It's like,
it is.
I think 7s these days just build for the gun, and then like the ulti is just kind of extra value on top. Here we go. Zergy diving in on the Viscous.
From the side. It's going to be lasso time, and instead...
Oh my god, this damage from Zergy, though.
And decides, I'm going to lasso the ball. I don't care. Roll away from this.
Yeah, at this point in the game, the Viscous has fallen off pretty hard in terms of the ability of Goo Ball to like tank everything. It's just not that realistic. You can see 1 win team are very aware of the objectives, though. They're still bringing the whole squad. They're ready to make this Urn turn in awkward, but I think the 6v5 ultimates online probably enough for Virtus.pro as they bring numbers to this engagement. They don't have the holiday, though, so hold on. It will just be a 5-on-5. This is winnable for 1 win team, and the fact that they're gambling this, I wonder if VP expect this play.
Well, I think if VP, I think you still take this fight, even if you're expecting contestation, even if you don't have lasso. I think ideally you go in after Michaelis is able to go in, set the stage with a good affliction. So, you let Mikhail set the tone, or you get a good swap. But in this case, 1 win, they realize they're down in numbers. They don't really want to take the full fight, and they get pressured out. It's an Urn turn in for VP. VP adding on to their lead right as mid boss drops, and
I wonder if he just insta go for it. Like, you still player down for 15 seconds. It'll be a little awkward for him to run back. Yeah, they're going to start damaging. I don't know if this is... Well, now, yeah, here it comes. The commitment's in.
I don't like this. Especially going against the Yamato Kelvin. At most, you fake it.
Off.
I don't think... You can't command the mid-boss right now if you're VP. There's just no way. There's too many ways it goes bad for you.
Yeah, especially with the Abrams ulti, Unstoppable, Yamato. There's a lot of serious threats there. Ultimate-wise, though, I feel like VP are... They don't mind stalling the game out, just looking for pick-off after pick-off. Paradox tanking this one.
Or rather, cube used early. Mid-fight.
Swap misses, though. But Flammable already almost dead.
Flammable super low. Yeah, he has to drop I think he's in shelter as we speak right now. Shelter is dropped. VP right now looking for a way to win this fight, grab the next mid-boss. Owl, though, going to get dropped right into the thick of VP. Is up anything here for 1 win right now? Both teams
VP are so strong. They're just not losing HP in their players right now. Yamato pops ulti, but everyone is low. I mean, look at the health bars on 1 win. Player down, second soon to fall. Zenia, 1 HP, and the Abrams goes down. VP still full strength.
Yeah, meanwhile, ABL is super low. Maybe he could find an opportunity to pick something down. Maybe he could get on the Zergy, but I think VP, they've been able to get their wounded a little bit more disengaged. Track down the wounded of 1 win in turn. 4 down for 1 win, none down for VP. Mid-boss still wide open.
I mean, this could be game if VP just want to go try to end here. I guess the mid-boss is like the more conservative play, but there's a genuine argument for coming and trying to finish the game. I mean, doing Urn and mid-boss is more VP style, frankly, to like get further ahead, and the fact that it just feels like they're winning all these fights and their comp is just better in the late game. Maybe there's an argument for no reason to take a gamble and try to end.
I also think they had people low, at least 2 people low at the time, and the Shiv was still up with killing low. So, I mean, there is kind of a risk of giving up extra kills there, but they're able to grab Urn. They're able to get mid-boss down, and okay, Owl is up for overseas, but no, I mean, there's no way 1 wins.
No way. You just can't know. Like, if it's 9 times out of 10 you come feed. It happens to me in Mirage there solo, but I think that's a good read from VP. I mean, it'd be shocking for 1 win to go for a contest and a play like that. It's a very bad play. But here we go, 1 being caught on the map. This is terrible, losing Shiv, and this is just after the rest of your team respawns, so now you're really staggered off the spawn. More players now potentially under fire.
Yeah, I mean, you have Rejuve, you have the man advantage. If you're a VP, you just go. You cannot ask for a better intro here to get first stage patron down. Everything in VP's favor here so far. And yeah, I mean, there's farm up in the map, but please, just like rotate around, get first stage patron off. And okay, there's conservative, Jake. I'm not a big fan of this from VP. I think you try to make something more happen. Yeah, of not pushing.
I mean, I think they should wait till the end of the rejuve. I think that's like the most meta play here, is to like use the first half of the rejuve to farm and then push with the second half of it, because it's not like you still have like full time on the rejuve. You have a lot of space to work with, so you might as well clear the camps. And like it is like, I mean, it's very conservative, but I think it is correct. Like, there's not really a reason to push with the first minute of the rejuve. I guess the player kill
the key is to the
is
Shiv down, though. It's not about like the rejuve duration. It's the fact that like you had Shiv down for 40 seconds, and yes, on the same note with Shiv being down, the jungle is like totally open, and it does get you like further ahead economy wise. But I do think, you know, for perspective, just putting the foot on the throat and actually getting even more definitive advantage, I do think the opportunity was there, even if it would have given up some of the jungle farm. But look, I mean, there's pros and cons of both approaches, and I think for VP, especially given recent history, you know, maybe in their case, better safe than sorry.
And also, you think about the draft. I mean, this is really OneMin being punished for their lack of pickoff threat. Like, VP they're not scared to split and play the map together. The only way that OneMin is scary is when they're full deathballing as a unit. That's what makes their style strong. But you're not worried about like a 1 or 2 man pickoff, you know, because you have the pickoff heroes, right? And OneMin have nothing. I guess they have the Abrams as like a sort of a way to get some lockdown, but that's not nearly the same thing as, you know, these holidays, these paradoxes that are like built to catch and kill individual players. And like, you just have Pocket and Paradox alone freely on the side of the map. The rest of VP is in their own jungle, just clearing camps. And OneMin aren't able to leave their base. Like, they don't have this info that we do. They don't know what's going on. And they also don't have the heroes who can really go scout and look for it. And I think, honestly, this is VP really reading the draft scenario kind of perfectly here and recognizing that like OneMin has no play here.
Yeah, I think you think to what we saw from Paravision, where Paravision was able to fight a bit from behind in the last game we watched, right? That was running something with a Bebop and a Mo, which gave options for like blowing up Michaelis early on. I don't really know with what they're running, short of just, really catching some of their pants down, how you burn down Mikhail S before an affliction comes out, or how you burn down a lot of these players before they're able to get their good stuff off in a team fight, especially with the economy difference that you have at the moment. So, the actual win conditions for one win feel incredibly narrow.
It's like a big, crazy base defense, right? And so I think that's really the reason VP aren't going for this. Is hold on now. Abrams finds one. E-shift force on Paradox. They're committing everything. Frozen Shelter as well. He's trapped in the corner, but he's dancing around the wall as well. It's hard to actually catch and kill this Paradox. The rest of VP are here. They are going to get the opening kill, but hold on. Is it enough?
It's turned into a full-scale team fight right now, so they get the opening kill, but did you burn too many resources for it? ABL, Shout Transformation, already about to fade. Take a look at Empty Dreams, though. Empty Dreams. Tanky, whole, healthy right now. Looking for opportunities for killing blow at the moment. They get the buff, rotate around, but this is still a good, potentially very dead Shiv. Drops the shift at the very end, but has welcoming committee out for him at the end. And the ground floor didn't fare much better there, Jake, either. One win.
Zergy was able to get out of that scenario on the 7, able to live and reset, and this is very likely the game. And I think this is, really this is why Virtus.pro didn't push, because even this play from 1min is honestly super desperate, like to go out on the map like that with this kind of disadvantage, but VP knew like you would eventually have to do this. Like they, in the end, this looks a lot smarter than going for a push and trying to end the game, where now it's like, essentially free win. And I think that's classic Virtus.pro. They put themselves in a strategic position where they don't rely on an individual outplay in the late game. They rely on their strategy having put them in a position where winning is the only possibility.
Virtus.pro on their quest to reclaim the throne of Europe, about to take down the patron here in map 1. One win, still 10 seconds to get a lot of their team back up, a few respawners here and there, but the damage onto the patron overwhelming. VP takes map 1 of the money match here in EU. I gotta tell you, it was a close one.
It's a big win for VP, right? The fact they went down 2-0 last week against one win team, it wasn't that close. One win kind of styled on them. Now VP are able to make their mark on the series, start with an opening win. And I do think they also really put the draft pressure on one win team from the very start of this game. Like, if anything, you think about, like, if you look at those two drafts and think who's more likely to be who based on like the history of Deadlock, I would say the VP draft looks a lot more like the way one win wants to play, with a lot of individual playmaking, a lot of catch and pick off, and one win of the team forced into like a really heavy team fight style. And I just think that in the end, VP have proved to have a better vision. They've proved to be able to steal more from one win than the other way around. I think one win are going to take a very different approach though in the draft in game 2. I would be very surprised if we saw heroes like Pocket, Paradox, Holiday all going to Virtus.pro again. Those are real signatures for one win team, and I think now that they've seen VP's strategy, they can maybe push them a little bit earlier in the draft pile.
Okay, we're gonna bring back in Dan for a little bit of quick hits on what we just saw. And Dan, one of the closer games we've seen overall. I mean, you stop and think about it, it's not too often here at Deadlock that we see a game go, 175K, the 175K, which it was at one point, but VP just able to consistently get small advantages and even overcoming some of the rougher things that happened in the early game, relative storm cloud interruptions and some of one win setup at the Urns.
Yeah, it was interesting because at least what I saw was a certain trajectory, expected trajectory. We talked about all of our expected trajectories for the comps and how the teams might play them. But what I saw was in terms of the most disruptive factor there for one win. One of them had to be the Holiday because the Demos pickoffs with the lasso, just like finding them with excellent movement and so on, was really, really painful. And you can see it like here, just really trying to target the Kelvin especially. And obviously the Kelvin really needs to live for the comp, for one win's comp to really be able to put pressure on or to do much in the team fights. That's where a lot of their edge is coming from. We talked about it quite a lot. And it was that first Urn fight. I've returned to it several times, where the momentum that was like there for one win to start really creating an advantage on the map and starting to get the style of play they wanted, I think, to start working for them. That it just got sucked out completely there because they lost that fight around the Urn. They kind of lost control of the map, and then it was VP just putting pressure on them, and they were on the defense continuously. So we never really got to see one win execute this style. And as a last point, what I think is funny is that VP, I feel like, are the team that are so good at maximizing edges in team fights, setting up team fights and playing together in this like mid to late game scenarios. And that was the skill set that one win had to kind of beat VP with. given their draft. And then VP were like, you know, they're kind of doing one wins thing where they're going to just have these very dynamic pick-off oriented heroes, and they're going to create scrappy fights, and they're going to scale really well. So you know, they're much more agile in that way. They can control the map and be more aggressive that way. So it seemed like VP kind of like played one win style a bit better than one win played VP style this game.
Also, Jason brought it up in the other chat, but it is still a sight to behold that in the entire game, you know, we know Holiday can be a little bit slippery and hard to pin down, but for as active as Dimov was there, Jake, Dimov died 0 times. That is ridiculous.
That's a crazy game on Holiday. And I think that speaks to the lack of control for one win teams draft. Like, they just didn't have much single target lockdown. It really is just the Abrams. Holiday is a hero that's uniquely suited to capitalize on that, to take advantage of it. And while, yeah, the lockdown was pretty good at like nuking down the 7 when he commits to an ulti, you just have so many of these heroes dancing around you in the fight, staying alive, putting down consistent threat and damage. And I mean, VP, I think they're really happy anytime they get to find themselves in a spot with decisively better late game. And I feel that's another area that one would need to address in the draft. You don't want to let VP put a clock on you. I think that's what they're the best in the world at, is putting a clock on their opponents and just outlasting you.
Yeah, and this is it's kind of interesting looking at the damage numbers as well, because you can kind of see also, obviously, you know, towards the last like 10 minutes or so, we saw VP really start to take a lead, but there is like a really big disparity, you know, with regards to just damage dealt for both teams, and I think that tells you a lot, because a lot of the kill potential is not about like just getting consistent damage here and there. It's about getting all the damage in the right order, you know, with the right util and just all together. That's kind of what one were looking for, but they weren't able to set up those fights really as effectively as they wanted to, and so, you know, without being able to maximize their utility, they couldn't find the success in the right spots in the game. So I hope they go back to their normal tricks in the next draft, and maybe I feel like if they're thinking about any one particular ban, it might be Holiday potentially. I feel like that was played really well by VP, and if they can't get it, I feel like they can't really let VP have it.
So my idea, before we get in the break, and something to just think about into the break, is that I think when one win has played really well and has been part of their core identity to a lot of their wins has been the pocket. I think the way one win is going to adapt is that they are going to ultra high prioritize the pocket. Assuming if they go first pick anyways, where they will pick pocket first. And I think they might not hard commit to going first pick and then go pocket. I think they may defer, go second pick, and then pick pocket in the first 2. And at the very least, make VP commit to the first pick pocket. But that's my idea. You know, Jake, final thoughts before the break.
Yeah, I just think you needed a little bit more control in this draft for one win, a little bit more individual playmaking. That's why they've shined as a team. That's where their championships came from. That's where they cut their teeth. And I think they just strayed a little bit too far away from what was their winning strategy. And I think if they're able to go back to that and just go, even if it's like head to head with VP with the same concept, I still think one win are an incredibly good team with the style that they're comfortable on. And I just think VP kind of beat them in the draft this game. So I'm really excited to see the next couple games. I think this very easily could go all the way. I kind of believe in one win making the comeback.
Alrighty, well, this is Deadlock Fight Night number 22 here in Europe. VP 1 map away from being champions again, but one win has proven resilient over the last month. If any team can stop them, it would be them. What will the result be? You got to stay tuned to find out. We're back here at Deadlock Fight Night Europe number 22. ZP here with Jake, and VP coming in hot this week, looking to reclaim their glory. And, you know, Jake, VP, if nothing else, they're a team that makes a whole lot of adjustments from week to week, especially when they're on the back foot.
Yeah, I think the coaching, the strategy from VP is really on point this week. They came back with a draft that really sniped a lot of the one-win signature heroes and made it really difficult for them to execute the game the way that they wanted. But of course, one win, also a smart team, and I think that they can, you know, easily read this and take a different approach here in game 2.
You know what else changes from week to week? It's not just the meta, it's the merch. Here at Deadlock Fight Night, that's right, we got some new items. At least I think we do. We do.
Ooh.
That's right. You know, get your Dynamo 7 on. 7's in the meta. You know, get a legally distinct 7 shirt. That's where I'm at.
I kind of like the 7 one. I need to collect all these coffee mugs. I'm a coffee mug enjoyer.
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of the same. Like the mugs are.
I have the viscous mug.
Also, I mean, the black does kind of work with it. Now, look at that. It's like, you know what? I'd drink a coffee out of that. Well, Jake also, you know, who's had a long day today, you know, mid-break, you need to get another coffee. But what better place to drink that coffee than the 7 mug?
That's a great point. It's a great point, ZP. But I love coffee in this house. Let's be honest. We always need a little caffeine, a little boost.
If you want to get a little bit of boost, have a pickup to your day, just to boost your energy. You also need a shot of Jason Kaplan back here on the desk. Jason, I'm sure you got like 3 of those 7 shirts, right? Production is claiming that the Jason button isn't working, and it's clearly not because of any anti-Jason rhetoric or anything like that. That's what production's claiming, Jake, but I'm not sure I believe it.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get Justin in here. We definitely could use the enthusiasm, the energy. I mean, I'm curious, VP, do you think, I feel like as much as this, like VP won this game 1, they had a great draft. They there's like every reason to think that they're going to close out this series and they're going to, reclaim their place as champions. But I just feel like the fact that OneWin played this so close, despite not getting any of the draft that they really would have wanted, or I would expect them to normally want. To me, I still like OneWin in this best of 3. I think that's like kind of a wild pred to expect the run back, but I just think VP were maybe a skittish this game. We talked about a couple moments where maybe they could have been a little more aggressive and ended the game with a little bit more confidence. They make I would say the smarter play to play more conservatively and secure the win. But OneWin made it scary. I mean, like a couple of those comeback team fights, like OneWin were playing to win with what they had, and they weren't ever giving up. They weren't ever making it easy for VP. And I think they still, as a team, played incredibly well, showing that they're still a huge threat here in the series. And I think with a different draft, maybe a more equitable one when it comes to the playmaking and the individual skill, kind of like OneWin's odds. I feel like the players are still on fire today.
All right, so I'm gonna break the mold here a little bit. And even though Jason is stuck in a dark box somewhere in the void from beyond, I think I can still channel his voice. And Jason, what are your thoughts before we get into the draft?
Sorry, it's not Jason here. It's Justin, the new caster for DFN, going to be coming in to really break down that last game. And of course, get you ready for the second match. My boy Michaelis, I taught him well. He doesn't say it much on his stream, but he always credits me privately saying, Justin, my man, you're my muse, and you really helped me perform. So now I'm gonna transform back into Jason here. I'm gonna take over.
Well, Justin was way more manly.
We like Justin way more.
Yeah, seriously.
Justin's back, and Justin's gonna continue to talk about how I taught Michaelis everything he knows, especially when it comes to pocket. Also, I have to point out, ZP, your hair looks fantastic today.
Thank you. Look, honestly, Jason, at times will throw barbs at people. Justin's raising everyone up. This is fantastic. But this is our history here in EU, in case you're tuning in. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but, for VP, this would be a change. Relative to the past few weeks, able to get back on top should they take this next map. But OneWin has kind of proven that they're not an easy team to get a W over. Even thinking back to, Fight Night 19, Jake, where you think about how that went down. Paravision went up 2-0. It was OneWin that had the reverse sweep to take that one away.
Yeah, which also shows that OneWin, they have the durability, the mental focus to make these comeback games. And this is just a best of 3, right? So it's just 2 games. You win one, and then you start to feel like, hey, we have the advantage. So really, I think OneWin team is still a huge threat. I don't think VP can let off the gas whatsoever in this series. I think we're going to need to see a very masterful draft out of them to continue to put them in the driver's seat. He's here.
Crap, you got me back.
Who are you and what have you done with Justin?
I don't know. He's not here anymore. He's gone for good. You can never bring him back unless I disappear into the void once again. The draft, man, is going to be really interesting, I'd say, between these teams, because looking back at what we had prior, it was a Calico ban out of VP and a Bebop ban. But the Calico, we've seen be a staple so far today, and it's seeming like that's not something they want to have to deal with. But also, you don't give them those like 3 heroes of the Calico, Yamato, and Pocket all in one that OneWin have been so successful with.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, for me, what I'm all in draft-wise is I think the Pocket priority is going to be the number one thing to change, because I feel like OneWin has clutched on Pocket more than any other hero. Yeah, the Holiday is really effective, and yes, it may be target banned or dealt with another way, but I think the Pocket is the number one thing I expect things to change. But also, I believe the draft is ready, so we're going to call for it. We're going to see what is changing from this time about here from the OneWin end. And, if any team can bounce back, it would be OneWin. Again, just given recent history. They quite literally did the reverse sweep, Jake.
Yeah, and that's what I think is, such a key point to remember about this team. While and often in DFN we see a team snowball over their opponent, and OneWin has oftentimes been that team snowballing over and just dominating, their challengers. However, they've also been a team that's been able to deliver big reverse sweeps, that has been able to find adjustments late in the series. And while VP is also, beating them is no mean feat, and they're a team that has been very used to winning this championship and want their place back on the throne, I don't think OneWin are going to give it up easy today.
Sorry, Justin almost came out again. I don't know why I'm like defaulting to Justin. I feel like that's a creative person. It is. It's going to be with me all night. I think you can't count out OneWin, but at the same time, I feel like I almost want to say it's still in my head one-dimensional. They're still rocking that like very aggressive composition, like really get in your face. But I say that at the same time, I'm just kind of like, is that just the meta? Is that the way things should be played? I kind of want to know if the meta swaps, if we have a big patch everyone seems to be talking about come into the game and it mixes things up quite a bit, can OneWin still play at that level and still be dominating as they did before?
That's a good point. I do feel like VP with their draft last game, for me, confirmed that OneWin is correct, because that was like a very OneWin-esque draft, right? Like a lot of individual playmaking, not really much emphasis on the team fight, just bringing your whole squad to the team fights, but not necessarily drafting for like super specific hero combos that really enable a team fight to be dominant. Just playing as individuals, death matching around the map, and being versatile, being able to step in and out and make their plays. Vindicta opening ban for VP is a little surprising, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
they're like the only team that thinks Vindicta's that good, and that's how I feel, at least based on the bans. Like VP rated so much higher than the other teams in EU, but they've also won a lot with it.
Okay, OneWin's going to ban the Holiday, and now I think what's going to happen is that if VP doesn't pick Pocket here, OneWin will pick it themselves 100%. So for VP,
the first three are Pocket, Paradox, Mirage, and we'll just see who gets the one and who gets the two. That's my.
I think if you're VP, I think they go Paradox. I think they'll value the Paradox a little bit more than Pocket, unless they value denying the Pocket away from OneWin even more. Either way, you're not going to have Pocket, Paradox, and Holiday all on the same team. And it's Sinclair.
Okay. Oh, I forgot about Sinclair. Was banned out in the last game, I believe. That is surprising. But I mean, we talked about who was mentioning this, that like Flammables, Sinclair is such a huge factor. Was that you, Jason?
That was me.
Maybe it was Justin. Oh, it was Dan. No, I think we should credit Justin for that one. No,
if anything good happened,
Justin would never say something like that.
It's Justin.
That's not a Justin move. Get out of here, Justin. Sorry. Yeah, what? Pocket Paradox we're gonna see? Or Great Talon.
Okay, we're completely wrong, man. GT is still high prioed. I mean, okay, in fairness, GT is a super scary long-range damage threat. But I agree. I kind of hope we see Pocket here. I think it would be a nice pick. Paradox is also high prio. Mirage high prio. I mean, there's a lot of serious prio now. I'm going to double down with the next three picks are going to be Pocket, Paradox, Mirage. Surely I won't be wrong a second time.
If you're wrong, what are you willing to wager on that?
Oh man, that's such a specific wager. This is like, I feel like it's like less than 50% to be correct. Okay, it's Calico. Okay, I forgot about Calico.
I don't like this. I mean, yes, Calico is good. And I mean, OneWin has played Calico really well. I mean, in likelihood, they're probably going to put ABL on it. But I don't know if I enjoy this from the OneWin side, because now I think for VP, you can't get Paradox, Pocket, and Mirage. You have to give up one. But I think based on what has been good,
next three picks are going to be Pocket.
You got to go. I feel like you got to go Paradox, Pocket here, or Mirage, Pocket. One of the two. But okay, there's the Pocket. I still think you value the Paradox here, Jason.
I mean, the double PP combo is quite nice, I have to admit.
I love a little double PP.
I mean, it's just so good. You just look at PP and the way VP play the PP. It's just phenomenal.
VP
and obviously Obikim has done a fantastic job picking up P, where Michaelis was typically the one to play the P. So
there's a lot of versatility, but they go with the Y. Interesting choice. I mean, I think this is another denial pick from OneWin, right? It's like, look at this VP draft, right? Like all three of these heroes are heroes that not only I think the VP want, but they're also just taking more and more options away from OneWin team. And like, I'm surprised to see the Paradox go this deep into the draft, but maybe they just feel like, you know what? Hey, we don't need it. We just need to like win we're going to play OneWin's game and we're going to play it better than them. I think that's what VP have decided to do today.
And you're very right, because they take away that like holy trinity of like the Calico Great Talent, or the Calico Yamato and Pocket, by picking up 2 out of the 3 there. So you really do hinder what they're going to play. And then that goes into, well, if you're not going to ban them out and you're going to take them away, is where's that next level of one win? Like, how are they going to adapt their composition? Are they going to have to go for a Shiv to kind of maintain that style? Are they going to be forced to lock in a Kelvin? I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see VP actually ban away Kelvin to deny that away, because I'm assuming one win's going to go for that Shiv combo again.
Here's the thing. Coming out of the draft, one wins gets first pick, right? So I think you ban either the Paradox here, or you ban the
Did they not ban?
the Bebop.
No,
Paradox
I think they did. It just didn't show. I don't know who it was, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Perhaps you can tell us who
they
banned
did
out.
ban, I believe. And I think it is one win with pick out of the ban phase. If that is the case, then I would think VP would ban Paradox or Bebop here. One of the two.
Okay, so apparently we're muted, just as a heads up. So you might need to repeat everything we just said. Oh, we're all good now. So
at some point during my
Jake,
rant,
go ahead and repeat that.
Okay, Virtus.pro got more of the one win heroes than one win. Virtus.pro gonna be I think better positioned in this draft. I think one win team ended up with a very weird draft here with like the Ivy, you know, the Bebop. It's like I can see them still playing their way and still being really threatening, and they have Mirage, great talent, like they have some high priority heroes, but I'm not seeing like the mid game swarm into the enemy jungle threat. Unless Ivy and Bebop are going to be like right in that mix, I'm a little worried for them. I think Shiv, Kelvin, and Yamato are a big problem, and Pocket is Declare, the playmaking from VP. And once again, there's not like great stuns for the 7 ulti. It's kind of just the great talent ulti, really.
Overseas though on Bebop is disgusting. I mean, there's a reason Virtus.pro were banning Kelvin Bebop Bebop first against this team over the last few weeks, because he is just ridiculous on it. But I know what you mean. It's definitely a little bit of a switch up in the style for one win. But I'm looking at overseas, man. If him or whoever's playing Paradox at the moment hits any of these swaps, I feel like that person is just gonna die most likely. And especially when you have the Calico Great Talent, knowing how strong one win can be with a Great Talent on their team, generally one of the most highest damage dealing heroes every single game we see it. It's going to be quite insane here, ZP, and I'm excited to see what one win can do, having to dig a little bit deeper into their pool of tricks.
I mean, what I'm excited to see is VP on the Sinclair, because it is kind of a newer look for them overall, in the sense that we haven't seen them run it a ton in the past. You know, overall, it's been more of the one win domain, right, where they would run it with Flammable. Like, one win was probably one of the most eager teams to embrace the Sinclair, but now VP not only embracing the Sinclair, but picking it first. I think that's at least half the goal, is to deny it from one win, but also I don't think you pick a hero that early in the draft unless you also feel confident in using it too. So I'm curious to see how that aspect of it pans out here for VP. It's going to be an interesting game, and one that'll definitely take on a different slant than the game we saw just a little bit ago.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Sinclair copies. They don't have the most obvious ultis to copy in this game. I mean, I guess you're more valuing Sinclair for the Rabbit Hex and for like his raw playmaking and laning abilities. But I just feel like pound for pound, the laning looks really sick from VP. I think that the mid-game team fighting, they have the Kelvin. They should have a bit of an advantage in the Urn fights in this game. I mean, I think you're putting a lot of pressure on somebody like overseas. I mean, he is fantastic on the Bebop. Maybe he could deliver one more time, but there's a lot of pressure on him this game. Same for the Paradox. I feel like the draft, I'm not seeing some of the synergies that I'd see on VP's side.
2 ZPs in chat. So we have Justin and we have double ZP going on here. Hopefully that's fixed very shortly. I actually want to know who the hell is going to be playing Sinclair. It's actually going to be Listic. So I assumed Listic would be over on the Shiv.
He's just a flex god, man.
Yeah, he really is. I think the most versatile player and him and Hydra. He is the EU hydration. I'm gonna say
EU hydration. Love that.
EU hydration. You know, the interesting thing too is that I think part of why you have to have Listic on the Sinclair is that you also picked Kelvin, right? And while I think Obikim would have been a decent shout to go in on the Sinclair, well, you can't play Sinclair while also playing Kelvin at the same time. So you kind of look at the rest of the roster, who would flex based on the other heroes picked, and you know, realistically speaking, it would either be Listic or Shriek, and of the two, just makes more sense in my book to put Listic on it.
Their blood will stain my hands.
All right, it's time to settle down, get into some of these laning phases. Classic Shiv Kelvin lane from VP. The mid lane is going to be the Pocket and the Sinclair. I mean, that's actually it's a monster combo as well from VP. I just really like the VP lanes. I think the 7 Yamato is, you know, a little bit more defensive and farm centric, but I just think this draft is really sick from VP, and I think after winning that game 1, they're in a great spot.
All right, so we'll see how this early game works out. Obviously, Overseas is going to be one of the key people to watch. So does Bebop in the right lane here. So, you know, upsides here for one win. Should the lane go their way, you know, you'll delay the Yamato a bit and the 7. So a lot of your late game presence right now, Jake. VP is betting very heavily on the right lane.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think if Overseas has a great start and finds some kills, not only is it going to enable him to snowball and start roaming the map, but also it's sort of simultaneously shutting down 2 of the key farmers. So we may need to see some rotations come in if that Bebop gets off to a hot start, just to stifle him, just to like keep, you know, D-Mob and Zergy in the game. And speak of the devil, man, Overseas, that's a scary thing to be having happen this early in the game. It's sort of inevitable, but it's also a ton of pressure. Just by Enduring Spirit, he's going to get nuked pretty hard. Okay, dodging that bomb is actually super important. Zergy takes another power shot, though, and staying in this lane is very scary. Not only you're worried about hooks, but you're... Oh, boy, he's dead. He's just done.
He's gone, just in time for the Yamato to get 1v2'd. And, yeah, I mean, this kind of strikes me, Jake, a little bit of, you know, putting your eggs all in one basket, almost literally in the sense that if this lane continues to go this way, where, by the way, there's lack of fear from Overseas, just standing there for the farm before going back, presumably to get healing right. And okay, sometimes fear is good. Fear can be a good response to save you from harm, as it turns out. But wait, D-Mob died too.
Oh yeah, D-Mob got traded for that, so he got, you know, overextended once again. I think you are still probably down for that kill. 7 is going to be back to get the farm. So, you know, I think VP are like hanging on by their fingernails in that side lane, so it's not out of control just yet. But I think it's going to be very scary when Bebop gets that laser online, you know, to start like shoving under tower. You don't really have a response to that from VP unless 7 can get close enough to cast the stun. But of course, so difficult to do against Bebop.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, this right lane to me is the story of the game right now if it doesn't stabilize, just because you're going to get 7 in the hole, Yamato in the hole, and Overseas. Like, not only can flex here on this lane, where, by the way, pure Terminator status right now, just chasing down the Yamato off to the side. Oh man, if there's a hook on cooldown that could hit that, that'd be ridiculous.
And the laser's almost online. Meanwhile, mid lane, though, going quite a bit better for VP as they're been able to put some nice tower damage down. Sinclair is taking a very aggressive posture here, damaging enemy heroes under the tower. And so, while maybe some of your important late game eggs are in that side lane, by the same token, I mean, Pocket can have a huge game, Shiv could have a huge game, and these are heroes that I think bridge the gap for Zergy and D-Mob to really get back in on the Souls perspective. As I say that, though, the gap is widening. It's getting a little scary, ZP.
Jake, have you noticed that you mentioned players on VP, they just seem to die this game? Like, what's going on, man? You take a little bit of power from the void that we were sending
I gotta get into gambling, honestly, with my ability to influence the outcomes of these fights.
Okay, so 1 win right now, starting off hot in large part due to the Bebop, but even beyond that, a good look. Now, the interesting part for VP right now, normally this would be about the point in the game that you drop a really aggressive affliction and get some lane presence on the pocket. But D-Mob's low HP and like has to kind of heal before going for that play. Meanwhile, by the way,
nice copied swap.
Real low. Off the swap, still able to find a way back around, getting poke damage on the KLS at the same time. Swapping gears though, Frozen Shelter down here in the left, sets up Sharik on the Xenia. So yeah, a little bit alone for VP.
I mean, this is just this is like, talk about a 3K spike, right? Like the Shiv Kelvin just diving you with their ultis. Very, very difficult to do anything about. Calico probably one of the more survivable heroes for that. Nice hook on the Yamato, doesn't have ulti online. Very likely to get popped here, and there she goes, man. The nuke threat in this lane is absurd with the great talent. 7 just trying to hold this down. I like this. Maybe gonna kill Bebop. Should be able to clean up that kill in just a second.
Bebop just drops a bomb as a party.
How would that a parting gift? Man, the nuke hurts. He's been getting so many bomb stacks.
I just imagine, you know, if you've watched Zergy stream before, just, you know, listen to him, Zergy just, you know, exclaiming, just annoyed at that. Just like, what happened to my HP, man? Like, what is that? So, I mean, also, I mean, it's just Overseas extracting good value, even in a tough situation. You know, you live at 25 HP, and while you're not getting away, you convert that into a decent poke on the Zergy that you can now capitalize on, not your back in lane. I mean, it's really not bad.
Yeah, I mean, D-Mob, though, has, like, no game. This is a brutal spot for D-Mob. He doesn't even have 3K yet, and Yamato, I think, is one of the heroes in the game that is most reliant on being on parity, you don't really have utility. You're all damage. So you're pretty much, your purpose is to be farmed and dropping huge nukes on the enemy. So DMob really needs to recover, needs to get a lot of jungle time, and that's going to be expensive. The rest of the team's going to have to bring resources to hold that lane down.
The reality is that DMob's going to be behind for a pretty big portion of the game, barring some just ridiculous cleanup where he gets a bunch of kill credit. So already, I think one win, they're really set up well. Because you think about the impact of this, right? We're still about 3 minutes away from Urn #1, but DMob isn't going to be a big impact in that fight.
Oh, Calico's in trouble.
Could be big here. Looking for the killing blow, needs to get forward, moving forward, goes in, gets the parry,
Oh,
and the killing blow after. Nearly enough. Might have been able to save the killing blow there, but now.
Yeah, I think he parried Calico while he parried the Walker, or the Guardian, I think. So Calico is just dead to rights in the corner there. But I think he probably didn't expect that, was just gonna cast the killing blow no matter what as he swung that corner.
It's
No
like,
ulti's in the mid lane, but Pocket still putting pressure down, getting some stacks. Overseas though, starting to roam. And so good, but Pocket uniquely good at surviving and escaping these ganks. And honestly, the fact that this defensive overseas rotation doesn't net a kill is actually great for VP. Although, as I say that, maybe it will net this Pocket kill.
Okay, you need to stop, Jake. You need to stop. Every time you talk, someone on VP dies. Like,
All right, Pocket TTP'd back into that one. I think he felt like he was gonna die or get caught, but he like cloaked way deep. ABL just solo kills DMob though. Jeez, DMob is actually in poverty zone right now. This is a tragic game.
oh boy. Yeah, I mean, that's not great. Yamato, this is like one of the things you look at is just like, you know, horror stories you tell your friends. However, back in mid lane, Mikhail S settling into a good rhythm. You know, chaining afflictions well, getting pick off on the Orsies, about to have another affliction, which should seal the deal for getting mid Guardian.
Oh, Ivy.
Meanwhile, though, Ivy might want to step back a bit. Shiv is ready to feast here. 10 seconds.
He is not backing down, man. Even with Mirage here, no fears from the Shiv, playing this so aggressive in the side lane. And this has turned into really the dominant lane for VP. I think maybe the gank from overseas, though, the hero in his team's hour of need, Bebop shows up, and he is really starting to snowball now.
Yeah, I'm feeling right now, Jake. I feel like should one win this map and bring us to a decisive map 3, I don't think they're gonna get to play Bebop. I think it's gonna get banned or stolen. One of the two. I feel like this Bebop has been a deeply unpleasant experience for VP of the deal so far, even though they've made up for it on other areas of the map.
Yeah, he's so good on the Bebop. It is ridiculous. You know what I think would be great is like, I think I'm just curious to see how Justin is thinking about this game so far. Jason, you're gonna have to step aside. We're gonna need to hear Justin's thoughts on this part of the game.
Justin's been proud of his boy overseas. You know, he said Mikhail S was originally his subordinate, his assistant, but really it's been overseas he's been practicing with. He's been really helping him grind, hit all these hooks. The unfortunate part is he won his lane, yes, but the rest of his team lost their lanes.
It's true. VP, I mean, Sharik, even though he's getting ganked, right? I think this Shiv is going to be a big problem for one win. Like, they have the hooks, right? But what happens when you're getting initiated on Bebop? What happens if you're the one getting chased down? You know, the hook is punishing those trying to escape from you, but Shiv Kelvin can really put the pressure on. Something that VP want to keep doing.
Big rotation over to the left, although ABL might get caught in transition here. Mikhail S and Shiv rotating over into ABL, it looks like. So ABL is heading over right before Urn drop. I don't think ABL's been caught at all. It looked like they were looking to head in. ABL might have been on high ground. Or by the way, ABL is like low-key also starting to get ahead of the game. 9K, nearly 10K here in the Talon. Hurting a whole lot on power shots currently.
Yeah, ABL's the one who's been profiting, right? Off those early lane kills. Now Shiv fighting inside the frozen shelter. Bird circling overhead, ready to come in.
I think the bird might have hit the shelter there. It didn't seem like it hit anyone directly nearby. Meanwhile, though, ABL ends up falling. VP able to grab it off the backside. Urn is secured, or picked up rather, by Empty Dreams, though. So, like, one win again, they're willing to lose someone in order to get Urn control in spots like this. And it may cost them the Guardian, but you look overall, and Empty Dreams is just rotating over the Urn spot, while most VP on the Guardian.
I mean, losing a player just to pick up the Urn, though, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I think VP could get back and make this defense. It's Mirage solo running the Urn. And yeah, Yamato, I mean, actually, well, Yamato, she's had a little bit of time to farm. I think this is really great for the Yamato not showing up at all in the last few fights. just being patient, recovering, jungling, clearing the waves, and now she's back on parity with the game.
You know, the funny part here, I believe it must be like a global Discord thing, because part of why we had our production issues is that our lead producer, who is picking up audio and other things from Discord, got fully kicked out of Discord. And now Listic has gotten fully kicked from Discord.
He's in England as well, right? Our lead producer and
I think
Listic.
so. That sound? That may be right. I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, I mean, Discord declared war on the British today, perhaps?
It's those tariffs, man. Those Discord tariffs.
They're tariffing your audio, bro. What's the tariff on my audio files coming over Discord? We get to see exactly what's going on because they have to discuss it in the match chat.
I mean, honestly, I'm okay for this discussion. You know, we're not corporate here at Deadlock Fight Night. We can give you the real
Reinstall
backstory.
Windows, says DMob.
Okay, so DMob clearly has experience working for any ISP's frontline tech support, where it's just like reset your modem, reinstall Windows when it's just normal internet outage. But yeah, this is the world we live in right now. You know, Jason,
what would we do without Discord? Honestly, is the real question. We'd be lost.
Apparently, life
Skype.
ends when Discord ends, is what we've learned.
No, we go back to Skype or then go back to like TS Ventrilo.
Little TeamSpeak action.
Little mumble enjoyers out there. I think you look at this game so far, though. If I could bring it back really quickly, I mean, Overseas was just single-handedly dominating his lane on that right-hand side, keeping DMob completely in check, like right off the bat in this game, and it was kind of insane to see. I mean, it allowed, as you said, Jake, ABL to really get a power spike, but it's unfortunate that the work he did there, if the rest of OneWin just didn't lose so heavily in mid and in that left-hand side lane, I feel like OneWin would probably be like stomping this game right now because of how dominant they were just very early on.
Also, we got some clarification. Listic is in Scotland, which is still part of the United Kingdom, which apparently has just been
England,
banned
right?
from Discord entirely, is what we're dealing with right now. Just to update
England.
people on what's going on. Oh,
All right, guys. How you feeling?
ZP is too bright in his room. Got to turn off the lights.
Oh, okay. So I got like 2 seconds of warning there. It's like, I'm going to go back to casters, guys. It's like, before I can turn on my light, you know, I'm just sitting here in the dark. You know, or I'm getting taken over by Justin. I don't know. That's where I'm at right now.
This is, you know, you never want to bring Justin to the show. You said his name 3 times and he just completely caused havoc in the systems of Discord, for our producer, and of course your camera setup. Yeah, exciting game so far. I mean, if we're completely taking stock of things, we talked about how often the Grey Town can be like the top damage dealer in these matches. I think with the current state we're in, you had Yamato pushing the right-hand side. He's going to get a walker for free. I believe you did have the Urn rotating over as well, so we might see like a 1v1 breakout there. And we also have like a 4v4, or no, a 5v5 happening on the right-hand side lane, which means... Are we going to see the teams continue to butt heads there, or teams going to back away, teleport over to help assist this Urn turn in? I think that's like a really interesting like point to look at of like how teams are going to approach this next section.
Yeah, I expect to see VP come heal up on Crucial because they took a lot of damage in like winning that fight on the side lane and getting that kill onto ABL. I expect to see them heal up and try to make it for the Urn contest. Because that Yamato is like keeping the lane shoved on the side, it's going to be, I think it's like you have enough lane pressure where you can't just give up the Urn turn in for free with your own lane, your own creeps past that point on the map. Like you almost are obliged to fight that. The key though for VP is going to be like how many, you know, zipline speed boosts do they have? Are they going to be able to heal up in time and show up to the next team fight? Can they hold the Mirage off long enough? But I think also by the same token, the one-win players aren't especially close to the Urn either. So it'd be like a one-on-one on the Urn while they wait for teammates. I think it's Mirage who's carrying it.
Mirage was carrying it and heading off to the right. So you had, you know, basically you had the team fight for Guardian going on the left, and Mirage was just gonna, you know, potentially send it to the right. I don't think Mirage can force it in, given what's over there. But, you know, I kind of want to shift gears a little bit to the bigger story of the game, which is that overall, unless something changes, I do think OneWin is going to have a pretty big edge for about like the next 10 minutes of the game at a minimum, just because of the hole that DMob has been dug into. DMob is not going to be a big threat in these fights.
Recovered.
He's recovered.
He's recovered a little bit, but it's also, you take a look as part of why is like, we got the screenshot of like where the minimap position is. D-Muff basically left the entire left fight entirely. Was like, all right, I'm gonna get some solo farm to try and lean up, which is also the place where Mirage is now heading. But
I mean, I think
don't know, we'll see.
I think VP did the super hard thing, which is that they were able to like get a kill and trade positively in a 6v5 fight where one win brought everyone. D-Mob was in a position where he just had to recover farm and couldn't show up to that, and yet they still kill ABL. Yes, the Urn turn-in, or not the Urn turn-in, but the Urn pickup goes to one win, but I think you're feeling really good about this for D-Mob. You're going to be recovered. Maybe for this Urn drop-off fight, the team can be there and actually help you, and I think VP have a better draft. Like, I think I just liked what they cooked up here. I think they ended up with something a bit more synergistic, and honestly, I think overseas and ABL, like ABL being the one to die is like the worst case scenario.
We do have to point out though the health bars really quickly for Virtus.pro. I mean, Listic's low, Obikim's low, and you were talking about, maybe healing up and then, looking to push, but the Urn has been dropped. It looks like Empty Dreams dropped it and teleported over to the right-hand side lane to deny that Guardian take out of Virtus.pro.
Yeah, both teams had time to plan their exact moves off the pause, so we can see some, very quick decisions on the macro level. Swap,
tactical internet
something there.
Take down all the British internet just to plan your tac pause. That's how serious Deadlock gets in 2025. But all right, rotation is over, and still Urn turn-in being contested all the while, 2-on-2 near the Urn. Meanwhile, I mean, the fight is still going on left lane. There's McKLS dropping on in as the pocket looking for ABL in turn. Overseas though finds Listic, and that might really open things up here for one win on the left lane. And
Urn turn-in as
well.
well.
If this is where VP goes over to the right, in terms of rotations.
Yeah, they're looking to still deny it though, still gonna fight it. Ivy doesn't feel comfortable enough to go for it just yet with 7. Kelvin waiting in the wing, so one win team holding the Urn for now, but VP keeping the pressure on the side of the map, and there's Guardian to take here, so I don't think they feel bad at all having a lot of resources. Now 3 players here though. This could be the moment for one win team to start putting the pressure on it to really look
Overseas
for that drop
just came over. In these early Urn standoffs, especially before you have the ability to survive getting hooked early on, actually so devastating versus Bebop. We're looking at the left-hand side where McKLS is pressuring, but the right-hand side where Overseas right now, fishing for hook opportunities for one win. A very, very difficult spot right now for VP to not get picked, but also apply pressure onto the Urn turn-in.
It's Kelvin getting caught. May need to pop the shelter just to live. Isn't even gonna get it off. Just burst it down. Listic as well, soon to follow. The fight elsewhere looking decent for VP, but very low players on a lot of these numbers. One win team scrapping it out. So far, 4-3 advantage for them.
Meanwhile, you got Sharik running away again, a little bit of cover as Hyper Beam comes in from overseas. Urn though, you look at who has it. It's one win. And Empty Dreams gonna turn it in, get the bonus souls as Mirage, get even further ahead on the game, and keep one win slightly ahead of VP.
Yeah, Empty Dreams starting to become a bit of an issue here. The fact that VP lost players and the Urn in that fight, now it's going to cost them this mid Guardian. They're coming in to try and counter engage though. Holding the Guardian for the moment. Ivy low, doesn't have that ulti to escape.
Back here in middle. Really, you think about the glue for VP, the keep things together, even when overseas was ripping things apart in the right lane. Can't really say enough about McKLS's impact on the mid game and beyond, where, it was the very early game, maybe it was a slightly slower start, but once, he hit 3K, McKLS was able to really take control mid lane and just, be a force on the pocket. So, again, I think about pick priority right now. I definitely think the way teams have been playing it, that pocket very justifiable in the first 1 to 2 picks right now.
Yeah, pocket the game lead on souls here, tied with Mirage. Not any native cleanses on the one win side. And so I think definitely there's some key item timings coming soon for pocket that could start to present problems for this particular, the one win front line. And I mean, we talked about D-Mov had such a bad early game. The fact that he recovered this quickly, I didn't expect that, honestly. They really gave him a ton of positional priority to recover and get back in the game. But now I think he could start to get aggressive. Maybe he wants to buy like one more key spirit item, maybe a Torment Pulse or an improved burst before he's a really, big threat diving into the team fights. But it's something you got to worry about, especially with the Kelvin amping that threat up.
I wish.
Oh, a little bit of teleport action going on right now. Teleports over into the right-hand side. Shiv being chased on down. Shriek not able to get away. One win. Still looking to get the initiative in places where they can find it.
ABL 1 HP.
Situation, ABL gets caught, unable to get out. Still, though, very scrappy on both sides. Both sides still in and around. Now it's Zergy under the gun a little bit. Able to take a moment, get a breather, drop the healing right, get the Storm Cloud up and ready. And then One Win immediately want to fight that.
Yeah, they're going to be able to grab that Shiv bag potentially to win down, but yeah, you need to get out of here if you're 7. This is getting a little too hot. Too many players around. D-Mob does get punished there, goes down to the Silence Glyph up for Bebop. And so D-Mob not expecting that. No debuff remover just yet. Wasn't able to pop the ulti, wasn't able to escape, and this overseas gank threat just got a lot scarier. The Silence Glyph could be a big problem for a lot of these heroes when they get hooked, especially things like Kelvin or Pocket and get it off before the suitcase.
I mean, I think it's absolutely designed more than anything else to get Michaelis out of the fight. Given his impact on fights, if you can land the pick on Michaelis, stop him before the flinch is huge, but also Calico stuck in the shelter right now. Obikin looking for the pick off. Michaelis down. I think that Silence Glyph just got used there, Jake. I have no other explanation for Mikhail getting dropped like that.
Yeah, and they're snowballing in Virtus.pro. Very low players, 1-win team, full HP across the board, turning this into potentially a team wipe here. 3 kills have already gone down. Zergy has to pull kite out of this engagement entirely.
Oh, it begins. The well played start getting dropped here by One Win, where they're not a team that shies away from psychological advantage here, Jake, where they get the pickoffs, they get the Urn, and they just let VP know. Well played.
I mean, that's a huge fight win. The fact that they're able to trade so insanely positively there. I mean, VP thought they had an opportunity with the Frozen Shelter, but the squad was there to help bail out Zinnia, and Zinnia still had the ultimate to delay, outlast the Frozen Shelter. I mean, probably one of the harder targets on the 1-win team roster in terms of tanking through and outlasting that skill. Definitely going to be a problem. They need to have answers to this overseas pocket. People are probably going to be rushing debuff remover, but it's probably a long way away for quite a few of these heroes. That's the power of getting that snowball and debuff. You get some of those key actives online early, and the responsive actives just aren't going to be up for the other side. VP really have to be cautious about these hooks. Huge problems here in the mid game, and a few more kills. I mean, we already talking about a 13k lead. 1-win in the driver's seat now firmly.
Also, I mean, you talk about the ideas like, oh, you get debuff remover versus Bebop. Okay. Well, now you're just so far ahead of the game that you've caused the other team to essentially tax themselves to not make things right. Like, yeah, I mean, it does help against Bebop, and oftentimes it can be the right choice, but it's still a big impact on the game from an economy level when a hero is basically, forcing you to alter your build like that. It delays how long it takes to get to your core items and what you want. So, I mean, overseas impact so far, absolutely tremendous. And, I was gonna say time to call in Jason, but hold the phone here. I think Sinclair looking to get a little bit frisky.
What is he? He's so crazy being out here.
I mean, he's out, but he has the
out.
TP. Yeah. I mean, you don't do that unless the assistant is ready to, head on out there in your place. But Michaelis,
scary with Bebop, and there's the catch on Michaelis. I mean, I really feel VP. There's no jungle on this side of the map. They need the team fight right now, but they're split. They're playing the farm game. 1-win team, I think, are pretty happy about that. They're able to press the advantage with their split opponents. I think VP really need to group, really need to make a big team fight play. Maybe too little too late, though, with the Walker already falling.
At that point, you just drop the Hyper Beam, make sure you get the Walker down. And, for 1-win, this is smart. I mean, they get a lead up. Now, Jake, they're more than willing to just commit and do big Walker pushes at a time where they're still really scary. There will come a point in the game, perhaps, where you're not as afraid as overseas, but right now you got 3 people pushing down a lane, looking down the Walker, and you know that the Bebop is sitting there in reserve. You're terrified as your VP to even peek that right now, the way that this game has gone.
Yeah, and VP, in those moments, there's not much jungle for them to do, but on the other side, 1-win had left all their jungle up to now, and so you see, after completing it, the gap is starting to grow and expand. And VP, despite having, I would say, some initial strong early fights, one big mistake there, very, very costly, that dive on the Calico. And I mean, look, she's profited so much. Such a big problem here for Sinclair. Rabbit X does come in, but how are you even going to get out of this for Sinclair? Yeah, you have the Clawbeat ulti, but I mean, I guess this is the value of Sinclair, just being super annoying, clearing waves, and you just can't really commit on him with his playmaking threat.
This could get spicy here. 1-win, I think this is a fight they'll absolutely look to take, and Michaelis actually could be in real danger. Michaelis is in the middle of it, and okay, it's not quite positioning that 1-win decides to jump on, but you have the silence glyphs online and a Bebop in reserve. It's not the freedom to play that Pocket once had, but VP, Frozen Shelter, gonna be dropped here, and take a look here. ABL thinks to drop the owl, decides, no, maybe not. Instead, takes to the sky, rain of arrows, backs on out.
Yeah, very defensive posture there. Frozen Shelter forced, and so that's gonna buy 1 minute great advantage here when these buffs come up. I will say, as I say that though, VP still potentially looking to fight. I think they are under pressure to make something happen. I don't think a passive posture is going to be a winning one here, despite the disadvantage that's against them. One win team threatening the Urn pickup. Looks like they potentially will grab it here. Yeah, it's a free grab for one win. I mean, look at the threat from this Ivy zoning away so many of these players who are walking up for the contest.
Yeah, I mean, not only is the Ivy just doing decent pushback with the gun, but the reality is that you just see the zone of intimidation coming out from the Bebop in this case with how well Overseas has played. VP really didn't feel confident about deciding to move in and contest that at all. So they end up giving Urn pickup. Now the downside here, is this something where they're gonna try and like go mid boss and use Urn as leverage? It might be the case here, Jake. Now you look at it, because I don't think they want to try and turn Urn in the VP territory. They're not that far ahead, nor is it that advantageous to a Bebop.
Still, it's not that easy of a mid boss to secure. I can't believe this is real. But oh, they grab Shiv in the mid lane. Maybe that must have been set up by a hook from Overseas. Maybe not. He has enough cooldown, so maybe they just caught the Shiv lacking in the mid lane, force into E-shift. Swap finds another. And with Obakim down, I mean, these are key team fight tools for VP. We see why one was spamming the well played. They thought they had already pretty much won the game from there. Maybe they have. VP have been really lackluster in the last couple minutes, just kind of falling apart at the seams under the pressure from one win team.
You have Sinclair. You have a ready-to-go 7. Well, I say ready to go, but 7's on the 07 map.
No,
so
I don't
really,
think
you got nothing. You're not trying to steal this at all. you take a look, VP is like, nah, we're good. You can have the rejuve. Enjoy.
Honestly, one win team have been in like the hard driver's seat for the last 10 minutes, and they're just like continuing to push the advantage. This Overseas Bebop is a huge problem, and I feel like VP mentally they look really defensive right now. Like they just haven't been able to make aggressive moves. They're holding on to the Urn turn in for the moment, but this is not really a long-term strategy when Mirage is split pushing, taking your outside walker. What are you gonna do? Camp your own Urn turn in? I mean, Mirage is perfectly happy to just take a walker while the rest of the team waits.
Mirage is experiencing the true benefits of freedom right now in the left lane where, okay, finally Sinclair comes over, but Sinclair's gonna get chewed up and spit out. But the difference between the two, if Mirage even deems him worthy of his attention, which he does not, he just takes down the walker first and then looks at them or looks at the Sinclair. So, man, oh man, things are the bad, the worst here for VP, and now you look at one win. They're not backing off. They're looking here now onto Yamato. The silence split comes in, no shadow transformation for you. It just gets worse and worse right now for VP. Good time to bring in Jason, and Jason, what are we seeing right now as the frozen shelter goes down?
A whole lot of Bebop domination, man. We kind of talked about in the drafts, like they let the Bebop get through. There's a reason VP has banned Bebop so consistently against one win. And with their change up in style and change up of like their draft order as well, like we're seeing yet again how impactful it could be. I mean, you have ABL at 24,000 souls off the back of that. You have Empty Dreams at 28,000 souls on the Mirage. And to see a response here come on the right-hand side Walker.
Dude, he's so strong on Mirage. He's just running it down on the Shiv, who is trying to do what damage he can, hoping for the team to come bail him out.
It's just unfair. You just hear like the from Mirage
he's
coming out.
He's gonna have siphon
repeatedly.
bullets, and like this is. I want to see what he buys. Actually, this is a pretty big moment. I think it's crippling headshot. Okay, so he's so confident and aggressive right now. And honestly, I think this game is actually over. Like I feel like VP have not been able to really get any kind of a fight or even a pick off of any kind in the last like 10 minutes. 1 minute brimming with confidence, and the lead is huge at this point. I mean, we're looking at basically a 30K lead.
Well, if you've been a Bebop enjoyer this game, just know that Bebop is probably getting banned next game. VP is not at all afraid to first ban Bebop, and I think that's a reasonable reaction here. They may play it themselves. I mean, they have played it, but I don't think the VP Bebop does what the Overseas Bebop has done at times, which has just been one of the scariest things I've seen in Deadlock.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this game looks like a game that one win snowballed out of the lanes, and like, yes, Overseas and ABL had a big lane, but I think Jason mentioned this, like it's just not, it wasn't enough. Like they had a, like the other two lanes went against them, and they still just bring it back with insane team fighting in the mid game. Like one mistake out of VP, and one win just don't let up on them. I think this is a team that like they're spamming those well played because they know once they get a little advantage, they just feel like the game's in their hands.
I think you also have to give credit to ABL, where like a lot of space was made for ABL from the disruption Overseas was doing, also some of the pickoffs from Xenon, and it's like The damage in from the Great Talon has actually been massive this game, and you just see the difference when you have the team just on the back foot. Actually, shockingly high damage time bomb there as Xeon gets Mikhail S down. Shelter not enough to save. 2 already dead for VP, and yeah, this one is getting more over the nut. Zergy tries to drop the Storm Cloud, gets the Looney Tunes anvil directly to the head. And you might be able to stick a fork in this one because it is looking awfully done.
Wow, I mean, the Ivy is so scaled as well. I mean, you could, I mean, what else are you gonna do? You could run the Urn, grab the buff, but realistically, this should be a first patron knock. And honestly, 50k lead, like, you might just want to end the game here from 1 win and set like the real mental tone. Like, this is not a team that I think is really keen on backing off and farming the map, even though they maybe could in this position. I think they're, well, at least they'll get the first patron knock. Maybe they will actually back off after this one with the amount of jungle that's available on the map. It wouldn't be that, I mean, they're all full HP though. I wouldn't be that shocked to see them take a fight.
I think the reason why they might back off is our timer is broken right now, but mid boss is about to come back up. I think if somehow
taking a fight with
bad,
mid boss coming up is crazy, right?
Yeah, like if it somehow went bad and then VP got a free mid boss off it, you just that's just like kind of an inexcusable throw. So I think for 1 win, you're totally okay to be like, well, we got the patron down, we're up 50k. Mid boss is coming up soon.
Echo Shard
They could
Paradox.
just go mid boss when it comes up if they don't get a pick before then too.
Dude, the bog is going to be out of control. You've got Ivy with like the kudzu bombs. You've got potentially 2 time bombs from Paradox. This is going to be so annoying for VP to fight. And D-Mob is gone. Silence again. Just can't get his ulti off. Like the last 10 times he's been caught.
Yeah, the MVP presented by Intel, the item Silence X.
Let's be real. The MVP of this particular game is for sure the guy who bought it overseas. Insane game, and here it is. Just 1 win, ending the game. No surprises. Based on how the last 10 minutes have gone, this outcome has felt inevitable. I mean, talk about a mental turnaround for a squad, right? I was worried, you know, from the draft, I was worried about, okay, VP are on a good start. Maybe they can finish the series, but 1 win, geez, man, they get a little adaptation in the draft, and they just ripped this one away from VP. And momentum-wise, that has got to sting for Virtus.pro. You finally get a map win, and it's just, it like feels like a year ago, frankly, since you've won a map.
You know, we're going to bring Jason back in, who actually just came back in outright. He's actually dictating his own rules. But, you know, the interesting thing to me, Jason, is that a lot of people kind of react to be like, outdraft. And while I don't necessarily disagree, I do think Bebop is like one of those wild cards where it really has to be played exceptionally well to dictate its value in the draft. But this time was one of those times where Overseas was phenomenal on the hero.
Yeah, if I were to say that Bebop didn't have as much impact in the early game, do you think it would have turned out the same way it did in this match?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I think
because the fact that they lost the other lanes,
worthwhile.
They needed it in this game in particular. If you had won the other lanes, then I would have said, okay, maybe they just got blown out everywhere. But this was like, that was the one lane. And think about, like, we kept looking at these fights that are sort of going well for VP, and VP are pressing the advantage of the other 2 lanes. And then it's like our hero Overseas shows up on the Bebop to turn those fights around or stabilize things for 1 win, you know, defend the Guardian. Maybe it's sometimes getting kills of his own. And I think so many times it was like you don't get to do that on Bebop unless you actually snowball your lane, you create all these opportunities. Arguably the reason that GT had such an insane game, you know, is from that Bebop hooks in the very start of the game.
See, the reason I asked that as well is because I'm looking at the Paravision match with Task playing Bebop, and he was paired with the Lashin lane, remember? And I said if they paired him with like a Grey Talon, then he probably would have had a lot more impact in the game to get things rolling, because you're kind of giving him a losing lane. Whereas here, you see 1 win, they're kind of giving him a winning lane, having ABL there to back him up and really put down the pain. Obviously, Overseas hit a lot of hooks as well, but you really can't underestimate how much damage ABL did. But it's so weird to see that was the lane that was so successful when they have players like Mirage, Paradox, Calico in other lanes as well, where they kind of got destroyed. I mean, the Shift Kelvin lane did some serious work out of Virtus.pro.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of interesting you bring that up, because I think you're right to talk about lane matchups, because it didn't just like buff the Bebop and make things really terrible, you know, for the Yamato in the early game, the Yamato and the 7, where again, you allow your late game power in that lane. But it also, I mean, ABL was just pumping damage this game, and was generally ahead of the game. And it's pretty easy to get ahead of the game as a Grey Talon when you have a Bebop serving people up to you as on a silver platter for the first 10 minutes of the game. I mean, it helped the Bebop, but it also vastly helped ABL. And you look at the damage ABL was able to pop out. You know, what a difference Grey Talon looks like when you have a good supporting cast around him, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, and I was skeptical of this 1-win draft. I didn't really see it, but they're just able to make so many of these mid-game plays and snowball the game to such a point that GT is doubling up everybody else. I guess like no one else really needs to deal that much damage. But I mean, you look across the board, this was like a really rough game for VP. Like early game, solid. Like they did fine. But then like the first time 1-win wins a fight, then they just win every single fight consecutively to the end of the game. I mean, that's not normal, right? Like that really does feel like a crazy turnaround. The fact that you know, as soon as 1-win, like remember when they started spamming the well played, it's like they knew, man. They knew. They had the confidence that would go that way. I was like, well, we'll have to see, you know, like, you know, VP aren't out of this yet, but it seems like maybe they were. And now 1-win, I mean, mentally are in such a great spot to close out this series and earn another title. VP, I like the draft they brought this game. Maybe it's just, is the Kelvin a bait? Is the Kelvin a throw? The lane was good with Jim Kelvin. I mean, I feel like you can't take that away from them.
Well, I think what happened was there was a moment in mid lane that we saw like towards, I'd say, the mid part of the match, ZP, where ABL just comes in and hits Obi Kim with like 2 power shots right after another. And from their charge shots. And right after that, Obi Kim had to use Frozen Shelter defensively. I feel like he was never able to use that Frozen Shelter past the laning phase as an aggressive tool for them. It was always used to like, I got to save myself because I'm about to die.
Also on that note, Jason, I don't know how much you have it on hand, but you know, during the break, take a look at Kelvin's win rate, because on the eye test and gut test, I feel like Kelvin's win rate in the last 2 weeks, it has not felt good, even as he's been like, he's been highly valued and he's been losing while being highly valued.
45% win rate
overall.
I thought.
Overall, yeah.
What about you do like the last month or something? Can you see that?
I can't do that.
Okay.
Not with my layout,
we don't have
unfortunately.
the technology.
I feel like it was so dominant for so long, people abusing the AoE Kelvin heals, and then more and more teams started to kind of not only in terms of picks but also play style, just understanding better and better how to respond to that and how to outplay that, both in the draft and in the execution. And I think honestly that's hurt Kelvin. He still is really, you know, really useful in the certain spots, but that just hasn't been enough. That the cooldown on Frozen Shelter is so long. There is that like big vulnerability period where, you know, this big tool that you built your draft around is not available to you. And somebody like Bebop, I mean, it's part of it takes a player like Overseas, right, to be able to land all these hooks constantly. Like, you know, you give him 60 seconds land hooks, he's going to get 3. You know, it's like sort of a ridiculous performance on the Bebop, but makes you wonder about some of the slower tempo big ultimates like Frozen Shelter.
All right, well, it is 1-1. 1-win, not giving up the throne without a fight. Will VP have an answer in the third map? The only way to find out is to stick here on Deadlock Fight Night, presented by Intel. It's Europe, and our champion comes after this break. We are back here at Deadlock Fight Night Europe, number 22, ZP, here with Jake, and by popular demand from I Love NASCAR 29 and 31 in the chat, it is DDK. He has been summoned. You know, Dan, we weren't even going to bring you back, but, you know, as soon as I Love NASCAR made the demands, you know, our hand was kind of forced.
Bro runs the show. I love NASCAR. It's on the down low.
I mean, we're not run by corporate overlords. We're grassroots initiative. We have to allow the voice of the people to direct the show, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We should actually okay. So these days, aren't there all these ways that you can integrate Twitch chat into the show, like directly with like votes and stuff? Can't we get that going?
Oh God! You know what's gonna happen? Production's gonna get a vote. It's like vote to make casters spin, and we will never not be in the washing machine
spinning for the rest of our experience as casters. That'll be great.
It's like we have another vote. Do the casters spin or not? Oh wow, it's 90% to spin. I guess we're gonna make them rotate once more. But okay, jokes aside, we're getting right back into it. VP versus 1-win. VP takes map 1 away, looking good. 1-win makes the adaptations in the second map, and it is just a Bebop reckoning that completely destroys VP. We're getting directly into the draft here. 1-win is gonna be first pick. Dan, my question to you. Does VP have Bebop PTSD and just remove the Bebop? No questions asked. First ban.
Well, there's so many potential first bans I could see VP going for. Because I mean, GT as a first ban is also something that like could make sense in a way as well. Because I don't know if I actually didn't expect ABL to be as good on GT as that. I think that's maybe one of the best ABL GT games that we've actually seen. And the fact that you obviously have ABL can play so many different heroes really effectively. I think that was really interesting. So we'll see right now what VP is going to do with the draft off of this first ban, and this will be quite telling.
That was Savannah's fault.
Okay, they go for Sinclair as well. Yeah, I had other things to say about Sinclair, but maybe I'll just bin that now because, well Sinclair's dead.
Maybe they can still get the GT. I mean, that being said, I feel like last game I kind of believed in the vision. Now I saw the doubling up the rest of your team's damage. Like if you have a good start on GT, you become like probably one of the fastest scaling nuker carries in the game on Great Talon. And I think honestly, for the way OneWin wants to play, that's what they live for, is like the fast scaling early power spike. And here it comes out again. I think for VP, the key is stifling Great Talon in the lanes. You just can't have the scenario like you had in the last game where, you know, GT and Bebop are running over the lane. Bebop can roam for free, and now GT gets into the game and is just hitting way too hard for that place in the game. Now the big question for VP is, what are the answers? Like, I do think heroes like Bebop are good against Great Talon, but Holiday would have been the other one of the best to catch and deal with it.
Okay, well, they pick Calico. Here's my question. Do you overpick the Bebop here? I think they're more likely to go for Pocket. I think they don't really want to deal with the 1-1 Pocket. On the same note, though, get Pocket too. Here's the thing, though. If they go Pocket, OneWin is probably going to pick Bebop on the turn, and they're going to get the GT Bebop lane again. The only way to prevent the GT Bebop lane, I feel like, is if VP picks it here. So, but if you do that, you give up the Pocket. So it's kind of it's a rough situation.
It's
and they
early to take the
Pocket.
Bebop, though, right? I think OneWin team, didn't they get the Bebop in the back 3 on the last?
They did.
Game, so I think there's a chance you could get rid of it on the second ban. And to that point, though, I think it's actually almost certainly getting banned on the second phase for VP. So if OneWin want it again, they might need to take it here in this set of 2 picks.
And I like that there is that pressure on the second wave of bans. If OneWin leave it open, they can strategically use that. So obviously create a situation with VP on banning something else, leaving something else open. So it is one of those small edges that can help them control the ban, because it does feel like there's a wider selection for OneWin in terms of the hero pool that they would feel comfortable with right now, giving them the edge in draft. So get a Mirage coming in. I don't think there's a surprise there.
They have to, if they don't pick the Bebop here, it will get banned. I have 100% faith that it's going to get banned.
Convicted.
Will you go bald if they don't ban Bebop? Thoughts?
Okay, well, clearly it's 99% because I'm not going to do the bald thing. Like there's always a little bit of doubt.
So
you don't want to see bald me. Like, my hair is like my only saving grace is the fact that I have hair. Okay. Like,
I mean, I want to see bald ZP, but it's not a charitable instinct, all right?
It's not a charitable.
Wants to see bald ZP. He really wants to see bald ZP. Give it to me.
Maybe I should just do my sideshow cosplay where it's like I go bald and then I let my mustache just grow to new lengths never before seen. That's the only way you can salvage it at that point.
The Vindicta into the Great Talon, though, from VP. I'm a little worried about this, but this is also, I think this is very likely going to be an Obakim Vindicta, because you already have Michaelis, assuming probably play. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility on this VP squad. They could easily swap all these heroes up, and I could be totally wrong. But I feel like, especially with GT on the board, going like a carry Vindicta seems a little crazy to me. Like, just to put your eggs in a fast defense mid counter, and they get the Bebop out of the game, which I honestly is just like, I breathe a sigh of relief, frankly, with what Overseas did in the last game. Was just so heinous. I mean, D-Mob was traumatized with the amount of times he gets silence clipped and killed.
Do they ban Paradox here? Because I'm not sure what the best ban is, but I feel like that's an interesting option, because then you would create this world where there's no easy initiator. You take that option away from VP. You presume it's not high priority though, because obviously Pocket's probably going to get played by Michaelis from what we've seen so far, or Vindicta. It's like two of his.
I mean, a lot of the players on VP.
Sorry, they could still run the Paradox. I think taking away the Geist is important though, because there's not a ton of great frontline available that I think would be good into the 1-win setup. The Geist would have created problems for the Amato and just would have been a huge pain, and also like one more durable heroes than GT Burst. The Paradox is going to come in turn, but I actually think the Geist ban from 1-win was really, really smart.
Yeah, that's the counter Yamato is a great point.
Yeah, I think maybe also OneWin, we're hoping against hope that they might get the Paradox for themselves, but I think VP are going to be pretty happy with this much initiation banned out, that they're the ones who are going to, I think, control some of that tempo. And OneWin team, the draft they have so far is a draft that is not really necessarily built to hard initiate, but one that's built to endure and counter and be able to turn around those fights. And along with that vein is the Kelvin, right? They have the potential to turn and counter. But we have seen the Kelvin only lose in the last 2 matches, ironically. I mean, I don't think that it says too much about Kelvin. They could get Shiv here, though, and just like double down on the front line. They've got the Yamato already. Like, you could just have one more, you know, have a great lane, the Shiv Kelvin lane. We've seen it, I think, win every time it's been played. I think that's like a strong hero to combo with Yamato Mirage diving the front line. And it's the Mo instead.
I love it.
Ooh. Wow.
I feel like the thing about the Mo I like is I feel like you also get the option to, you know, have great control in early lane, but also the combo with the Yamato just having that guaranteed lockdown. I think that's just, it's going to allow them to be a bit more aggressive and have more pick-off potential that maybe you wouldn't get with the Shiv really in its place. Maybe they can still pick up the Shiv in number 6 position, but you know.
I actually think the Mo is also really smart here too, because you think about how VP is going to play. Normally with their team comp, you have both a Pocket and a Calico. These are heroes that really mess with the fabric of how much you should be able to get away with in Deadlock, because they have incredible escape utility. Pocket, of course, with the cloak and the satchel, and Calico just, you know, combination of Return the Shadow, Ava, you know, leaps, everything. Mo puts the fear of God into both of those characters and slows down the game and slows down the pace of aggression that VP can go with. So I actually think, beyond the fact of, you know, Mo's normal tendency to just feed the Yamato, I think Mo versus the Calico and Pocket double play is actually really effective for one win, especially as we get into the mid game.
I like the Abrams response, though. They need an instant interrupt for the combo to make Mo think twice about just like instantly initiating with a combo. Well, then Abrams can counter that. And I also think it's a great that one win grabs the Mo earlier, because I think the Shiv wouldn't have fit VP's lineup. So it's like you're not really going to steal the Shiv away, or you're kind of, you know, making your own team comp worse to do so. And at the same time, like we think about game 1, I think a big problem for one win is they didn't have hard catch. And that game was because, you know, the Paradox and the Holiday were both taken by VP, but they had the Abrams. It didn't quite work for them. I think the Mo is a much better option for like the hard catch, find an initial kill on the side lane, turn that into an objective take. I think this puts one win in a much a better theoretical position now as well, with you know, things like Mirage able to split push the side lanes, and then the team fight from the rest of the squad just being really rock solid. Mirage can come in to help that out.
Yeah, I love this draft from one win. I feel totally the same way. You've got a better version of the first map's draft, and I feel like the Kelvin was picked in a much better spot. You know, of course I mean, they created this hot position, right? Because again, as I was mentioning, you're creating this spot where you're forcing VP to have to ban the Bebop, or maybe they picked the Kelvin, but that's kind of the thing, is like, that's the fork in the road where I think one win are very happy to go either direction. It's kind of VP that's going to basically dictate that, but both directions will have success. So I love this, and having you know, then they can save the Shiv for last. I feel it's a way more efficient draft from one win, and I feel like it should actually play so much more into their strengths. And I'm really worried for 7 having as much impact as you'd expect, because there's a lot of stuff to just deal damage to him in the cloud, you know, especially the GT. The GT is really nice, obviously, for that, but you've got Mirage as well. And obviously Shiv can get the bleeds and get up there also, finish him off if he gets low with a cunning blow.
I'm looking at this here and I'm seeing actual just stomping in the early game from one win here in theory. I think, okay, so you top out lanes. You have the Shiv Kelvin lane, which is so good that people were like over picking Kelvin just to get their hands on it last week. And it still looked really, really good today. Then you can run a double nuke lane with the GT and Yamato, and you can have a talent, or rather a Mo Mirage lane. These are horrifying lanes to go against, quite frankly. And it does play out exactly like that. Exactly as mentioned, the lane setup. These are the lanes they end up running with, and not a single one of these lanes, Jake, is weak for one win.
Yeah, I do think mid lane is so much range nuking potential. However, that could potentially be turned against you. I think Paradox and Calico maybe wanted to get aggressive here in the early lane. Oh god, that's scary. Facing down overseas on the GT. Which way are you going to dodge off the pause?
You just see there's like, you feel lucky pockets.
It's actually like a duel at the High Noon Corral here.
Well, Carbine on one side, Power Shot on the other, and you know, Dan, any thoughts from your end on the lane setups before we let you go for a bit?
Yeah, I think one of the things I'll just be looking at, to be honest, the most is whether the Vindicta Abrams are going to have any success, because obviously, as we've seen, if Vindicta gets a bit behind, it can be somewhat underwhelming. With that said, it's going to be overkill, so they're not necessarily looking for a carry out of it. But at the same time, you know, you don't want your Vindicta to be just totally gimps in the early game. And the other lanes look pretty nice for one win, I gotta say. So I'm feeling that one win for sure in this game. I feel like they're gonna win for at least 2 of the 3 early lanes.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, even as good as like the Abrams Vindicta lane can be at times, I'm not sure it beats Shiv Kelvin. Shiv Kelvin is kind of overwhelmingly strong as a lane combo. So as I'm evaluating this game and where it's at, I feel like the biggest moment of reprieve, and even that's gonna be hard because it's still like a Mo lane, but you know, maybe when Mikhail S hits the 3K power spike, they can use Affliction, they can get something going on left, but I think VP is just hanging on for dear life in the first 6 minutes of this game.
Yeah, I think there's some power spikes that they can definitely play off of. I think, you know, Vindicta has like a level 2 power spike with Abrams once they get some of those active skills online. If they can stake somebody and pull them back, maybe under tower with a pin like that, that's something you could do, especially before Kelvin is, you know, healing or having all of his skills online, maybe Shiv oversteps. I just give a little bit of faith, though, to VP that in the game 1, they were able to outplay the map really effectively against this Kelvin comp in general and like outlast it. And oh god, nice
bullying
parry freeze. Very OP strat being abused here by Shiv, but you can't blame. I mean, this is, I think they know this. Like the real threat on them in this lane is getting pulled under the enemy tower and just playing pure for denies, really defensive. Is there's not much of a response to that, frankly, from Vindicta Abrams, other than just last hitting as well as they can.
Also, one thing that's interesting we didn't really note, in terms of hero versatility, you talk about Listic's ability to swap to different heroes. What about ABL, where ABL now on the Shiv rather than the Talon? You know, ABL's hero pool also incredibly deep for one win.
Yeah, I think both these teams are really best in the world, best in at least maybe comparable to somebody like Hydra Nation for that flexibility. It's like a key, excuse me, a key value for them.
Well, so far, I think VP's done a pretty decent job. I mean, things have been relatively quiet, and I think against the early lanes you're up against from one win, you're kind of happy with a little bit of peace and quiet, a little bit of equivalent farming.
Yamato
remains the case.
Could be in trouble though. Yeah, Divine Barrier on Calico. It's gonna give her the confidence to chase a little bit deeper. Yamato's extremely low. It's a nice kill for VP. I mean, I think some of these ultimate fights are actually still pretty good for them. And the fact that they're gonna have the first swap online, if they can get a swap connection for DMob, I think that could potentially slow down Overseas Great Talent, which is such a critical here. We talked about like GT hitting these early scaling peaks, getting that max charge shot early is a huge problem for you. So will they be able to respond to it?
Is the question at stake right now.
He's got a full 4 stacks on him. Ow, that hurts.
Yeah, just saying, he's like, all right, Jin's Mark, please do your damage, go away. But for now, one win pressuring in onto the left, getting pressured in turn in the middle. I think a lot to be said for how DMob and Sharik are playing the middle lane. The fact that they've kept it competitive and actually pushed one win back against what is a very difficult lane. I mean, I think the most can be said there is that we saw Overseas miss a few power shots early on, and you just have to be moving the right way to even make a GT miss a lot of the time.
Scary, man. The threat from Xenon, ever present here for Pocket. Getting comboed, almost certainly going to be a death sentence. 7 as well. Very, not the most durable heroes, not the tankiness to really survive through that threat. So that's allowing a lot of space for one win to get a farm advantage. Still across the map though, VP are keeping up, keeping this advantage under 1K. Nothing significant in terms of the soul lead. Also see that Dome is available here for Kelvin Shiv. Very scary spot for VP in that Abrams Vindicta lane, who had the lane pretty much held against the enemy tower the entire time.
Missile poke damage coming in from Zanya off into the middle lane. And yeah, you know, it's kind of interesting where you think about Pocket's power spike in lane. KLS can't really dive and just do an Affliction willy-nilly the way you could against a lot of stuff just because you will get comboed in that lane. But the Mo does really limit options.
A lot of pressure on Zergi. Does have that decay picked up, so trying to put some of the pressure back the other way, but man, this Mirage is absolutely full. The tankiness from Xenon is immaculate and very scary lane. Although this catch though, that forcing the Kelvin Dome and then re-engaging, able to take down Shiv, and Zergi could not escape. Talon had his number in that position.
Yeah, also, I think this is a real danger for Michaelis just getting dove here. Like, you know you have the 2-on-1. Mo's gonna go for it, looking in! Ends up getting blocked a little bit. Can't get through the tower, they'll land the combo, and instead gets a face full of poison in return.
Yeah, that affliction seems like Xenon is gonna fall back and just outlast it with that tankiness that Mo offers. And they've been doing an admirable job just holding on to this lane, but doing much more than that feels so difficult. The good thing, though, is with Mo on low HP, probably difficult for him to commit for a combo. See what Obakim's building on this Vindicta. Has Healbane, Divine Barrier. Interesting he hasn't built the... Usually we see like the double shield build on Vindicta like pretty quick. But in this case he's not going for it.
You know, for as lauded as the Shiv Kelvin lane has been, the Abrams Vindicta lane really holding
its classic. It's an OG.
Yeah, it's been good here so far. Kelvin.
And Kelvin's in deep. If he gets caught here, yeah, pinned in.
And there's no shelter. He doesn't have shelter. He went on that exploratory mission with no shelter in reserve. Questionable, Jake.
And I don't know that Shiv. I mean, Shiv is playing with confidence here. I'm not sure. I think if he gets staked here, he could die pretty quick. I guess Kelvin's going to be coming back now. Shelter's almost up, so he maybe wants to bait the engage on itself. But this is really risky to be diving. If he gets caught with a pin here, okay, knows the limit though. VP waiting on the skill cooldowns to be able to actually turn that around.
Yeah, and now in that lane, wait, Owl, here we go, overseas. Look at the set it on up. Is Listic gonna live there? No. ABL immediately there at the killing blow. So, you know, overseas Owl has been quite good so far. And oh, take a look at that.
Should be
able to get away, but look at what you give up in turn. Lots of Guardian damage. It may not be the Guardian outright, but it's still rough. I mean, these trades you like right now for one win.
Yeah, despite the lane overall going pretty decent for Shiv Kelvin. Oh, this is a deep pin. He got both. Oh, you can't even shelter this. Oh my Listic.
Hello.
Ziv and caught. Yeah, just way overconfident there. Shiv and Kelvin overstaying their welcome. And that's the downside of not pressuring the tower earlier, playing so defensive with your posture. Shriek is getting shut down there by Xenia, who's now taking the pressure onto that mid lane, trying to pressure their opponent Guardian.
I feel like there's a brief split second there. One was just wondering, why do I hear boss music right before Listic just slams both of them down? Unbelievable turnaround within the lane. Mid lane though, one win. Oh, what a try and take advantage, and
he should be dead for this though, surely.
You would think. You would think. Yeah, I mean, you're okay to die in the situation of this, but Xenia perhaps living a little bit longer than expected. But still, you got the Guardian down. You're still pretty okay with that, especially this middle. Seismic Slam, meanwhile, does not care about your shelter as Listic starting to feel himself right now on the Abrams.
Just crushing them underfoot, and Obakam is also having a pretty big game here on this Vindicta. Despite, you know, being a support player, I wonder if there's an argument for going a bit of a scaling build here. Yeah, it looks like he is maxing snipe too, so he's actually going to scale on this Vindicta, potentially. Needs to snowball into some more kills, but we could see this Vindicta become kind of a problem. GT constantly on cooldown with this Owl, like always looking for kills, always looking for opportunities. And if you're not finding the kills, you're still just putting a lot of damage pressure on the lane. Abrams not going to die to
the lane tempo. As you look at that, you Owl mail over the Listic, and now look at his sad run back to base. There's nothing you can do. You look over the zipline. He must go back. Meanwhile, while Listic is going back, you take a look at what this says for Obakam. Obakam could die in the next 20 seconds because of that play. Abrams is still going to be out of it for a little bit while healing, and even if they don't die with the Vindicta, they still get the Guardian. Meanwhile, combo in, but Mo canceling it early.
Mo forced back, and you know, while the soul advantage is pretty even, distinct objective lead here being established with that Guardian take. Now the unpause comes in, a little bit of attack pause. Now probably not, probably just a little bit of lag for the players. ABL on with 1 HP on the Shiv, real one. Okay, is dead. 2 Zergy, but now the big dogs have arises overseas on the Great Talon, dropping nukes. One more. Oh, it doesn't have another cooldown. Very lucky there for D-Mob. Just a couple seconds, we could have seen the second power shot follow up. That's a lot of space for the Urn pick of. Unless Virtus.pro want to fight it, they do have some pretty healthy players in the neighborhood.
They might be looking to knock on over. Meanwhile, in middle lane, got Yamato versus Calico, and all right, Zanya, not wasting any time, goes Shadow Transformation, forces out Return to Shadow in turn. Listic getting the Urn 4VP over on the left while we're watching this middle fight. Michaelis also going to punish Xenons, but One win getting down and dirty on the left. The 1v1 still continuing here in middle. And you look at the Urn, it is going to be stolen away, but you look at this, ABL still in hot pursuit. Gets one kill. No resets available just yet skill-wise. Going to have to do the rest of the old-fashioned way. But it is VP running away at the Urn in the end. So still even, but VP with Urn control.
Yeah, but OneWin are pretty happy, I think, to take some jungle camps. They still have general position on the map, so I don't think this is going to be an easy turn in for OneWin team. VP, though, I think pretty happy to just like hold the Urn for eventually. It's like, feels like at this level, these seems like eventually they will create an opportunity where they get an advantage fight in the Urn. I think they would maybe love to do that under a storm cloud here, but Zergy forced to defend mid by this pressure that Overseas putting on.
Also, this Urn turn in is going to be difficult for VP because one thing Dan points out, you know, at our caster chat is just that, you know, look at the Guardians right now. It's 3 Guardians down for VP. OneWin has been keeping up enormous lane pressure this entire time. It's leading them to get some of the jungle in turn. It's keeping VP on the back foot, and it's a situation where even though it's only a 3K difference between the teams, this could easily go way out of hand in favor of OneWin should VP lose this Urn fight. So they have to be so meticulous, Jake, in their setup here. This is not a fight they can lose while down 3 Guardians.
I think VP, though, is about to equalize at least the mid Guardian. Good pressure here. It goes down easy. Even Shiv just not having the HP to properly contest that. And actually, as I say that, Listic maybe looking to make some kind of a catch-off here on the Shiv in the side lane. OneWin just dedicating players, though, heavy on this right lane, keeping the wave equilibrium off of that turn-in spot. Obakim looking for the chance, but hard to find the way through here. All these defensive players.
All right, VP set on up. Vindicta, plenty of room to work with here. For now, just babysitting the Urn up top. And by the way, that's an owl over and forces the Urn drop. Of course, it can't just be picked back up. But as I say that, here comes the Talon saying, get off the rooftop, that is mine. So Vindicta now in a rough spot. ABL, while this is going on, finds Listic. OneWin decide to engage off the Owl and Disruption from Overseas when Obakim is held back. And now we got even more dives coming on Zanya. Here for OneWin, forcing out the return of the Shadow. And Frozen Shelter in from Flamble saying, you're not getting away. That's one way to skin the cat, so to speak, or at least freeze it out as Sharik goes on down. Great positioning and ult usage here from OneWin. And VP still controls the Urn, but what does he even need at this point, Jake? They're just stuck with it. Deep behind enemy line, or their own lines.
I'm getting deja vu from last game. I mean, this fight was so confident from OneWin team. Felt like VP just never really had a chance to take that engagement. And you know, they were poking, prodding, trying to create an opportunity, and then GT just shows up and it starts nuking you. The catch comes in, and OneWin just overwhelmed. And the threat of the Mo Krill is it's very scary to be out alone anywhere on the map right now, especially when you don't have vision on Mo. You don't know where exactly he is. Makes it really difficult to push out these lanes successfully. And speaking of pushing out lanes, man, it's like you just can't get this Urn turn in. OneWin are just continuing to defend this part of the map. They're not going to give it up.
The lane control has been sublime from OneWin, and you know, maybe we have a brief moment of breather here while the Urn is being held back. You know, Dan, you were gushing about the OneWin macro. You know, what are you thinking of what we've been seeing here? As hold the phone.
Oi, that nuke
jumped by the Mo and Krill.
Dude,
but now that's been
Yamato
done. Dan, your thoughts?
I mean, I just love the comp. I love how they're playing it. It is just the premium OneWin stuff. It's so funny when you look at the start of the series, the first map, we have what felt like somewhat of a disjointed game, but now you've got the synergies are so evident across the early laning into how they're able to take 3 Guardians down unanswered, continuing to just keep the pressure on consistently, and they can play the team fight game, the disruption game. They've got so much burst damage, and they got lockdown. It's all working out, and this VP getting really behind on these fights. They just don't have anything against these synergies.
You know, it's not only synergy from Mo and Krill, but the Shiv also at times can punish over-aggressive dives by a pocket too. And VP just cannot play as freely as they'd want to against this OneWin draft, where now we're starting to see a real big lead take place, and what could be the first walker of the game. And Zergy might go down here too. I mean, Zergy's trying to do anything to buy time, but it may be a fruitless endeavor as this walker is just getting crunched from all sides. A Mo on the end, as ABL just able to work to the back over in middle. They get the walker on right-hand side. They keep pressure up in middle. They're pushing Mirage on the left. OneWin is everywhere right now. And even if the Mirage dies, dear Lord, they have gotten a lot of map control off of this.
Yeah, it's a nice catch, though. It's what you need. I think this is the way VP needs to play right now. They have very low chance to come back into this game. But if they find a couple kills on the map here and they can keep grouping up, I think you can't split anymore. Like, one win team is just beating you in the split fights. They're too scary with the Mo pickoff threat. We've seen the nuke that Yamato and Great Town can bring to bear. VP need to start forcing team fights, and they need to do it now. Like, this is still a pretty big advantage, but it's something that VP can come back and if they seize this tempo with players down.
Also, the right lane is a real problem right now for VP in terms of a lane always being pushed up. Because you take a look at, not only have they not gotten the Guardian down there, they're down there Walker in right lane, so it's super easy for Empty Dreams or someone, you know, with more mobility to go over there, kill a few waves, and it's just gonna push all the way in to the base Guardians. So, I mean, if you're VP on some level, you know, you want to get the right Guardian down, but it's gonna be defended. Meanwhile, Frozen Shelter down, Sharik does not care. Takes down Flammable, who's unable to save himself over in mid.
Rinse and repeat right now for VP. That was a Frozen Shelter used as well. Even when Flammable's back up, he's going to be missing that key cooldown. VP just needs to keep pushing and snowballing these fights. They need to keep their opponents on the back foot while they recapture these objectives. I mean, OneWin has shown that they're a team that, you know, you give them inches back into the game and they're going to take miles. They're going to just run you through. Think about how that last game went. You really need to change the tempo now. And once again, VP diving in here on the Shiv.
VP looking for their opportunity. They, again, as you say, need to make some aggressive plays to get position back on the game. And with that one pick they got, I mean, back within about 5K. So definitely not unwinnable for them at all. I think the things you have to worry about here is that you look at the compositional issues that OneWin has given VP. Michaelis is usually way ahead of the game in economy. This time, vastly behind. That is a vulnerable pocket if I've ever seen one at a mere 12K this deep into the game.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure on, I think, Obakib and Zergi to bring the damage in these fights. But it's not easy to do. Yamato running through with the Urn, just, I think, trying to bait and engage. The rest of OneWin team are close behind. We could see a real knockdown Dragon and pockets across the map.
If you're OneWin, you'd love to take this, especially if Pocket shows the map and you know that you have the advantage. And for now, you decide to push one on the menu. Listic chopped on up from ABL. And this is a tanky Shiv, doesn't really care, can move on forward, wants another piece of the Calico here and now. Michaelis caught on the other end. Meanwhile, the Urn gets turned in the melee, so VP, they lose two, they only get one in turn, and they lose the Urn. It gets OneWin again, up about 10K on the game.
E-shift for Yamato Force, probably not gonna need that ultimate. Yeah, Obakim way too scared to chase around that corner, and I don't blame him. It's a scary spot to be in the game. VP, I mean, this Abrams is really struggling despite having a pretty solid early lane. ABL Shiv is just kind of on fire this game. He's really heating up. He's becoming a real problem. I mean, the fact that you can just run it down on an Abrams is a pretty big problem for the Abrams, right? He's the one who wants to be putting you on the back foot, but the Shiv is being played with so much confidence here. Maybe in the late game, it could be hard to get on top of your sevens and your Vindictas, but for now, he's just able to kind of exert his will on the front line.
Also, as Dan points out, economy allocation-wise, it's a rich Mirage right now. Like, he went to the Jhin and said, I wish for immense wealth, is what has happened here. Because 22K, this is the Mirage at the level where he can just run down half of Virtus.pro, hold down left click, and win.
Big swap, though.
Coming on in, Zergi, drop the stun right after. That's one way to clip the wings of a Talon. Get him out of there. As VP now. What do they do after this? Like, it's not about the initial pick, it's what can you chain after the pick. Oh. And they're looking for Sharik right now. Has to return the Shadow. Getting hunted right now by the Amato. Don't wait. How's Sharik still alive?
The duel?
What?
Oh,
Sharik able to get away, but surely. Wait. Oh.
In the Frozen Shelter, though, so much power being deployed here. And Listic tried to come in, try to bail out his buddy, but the rest of the squad right behind. And Christiansen lagged out because he missed that. There's no way you missed that heavy melee on the Abrams. Yeah. He started running straight. I think he just hit a little lag spike.
Xenia's internet just truly awful to the point of needing to reconnect, but also Sharik had no business living there. I know Calico gets away with some stuff, but dear God.
In the end, I mean, you have to give up Listic to get Sharik out of there, but I think it is still better, right? The Calico's a little bit more farmed. You're not as worried about that, the soul advantage on the Abrams himself. He'd love to have a Phantom Strike, but it's not as critically necessary as Sharik just having a big game and having the damage really to come and take it to the front line. The fact that there's a bag drop, though, is a little bit painful. And I wonder if VP want to double down and re-engage us. I mean, Calico's going to have to go heal. Seven's not really that close. However, there have been some powerful spells deployed, right, with the Return to Shadows and Obakim now coming in for a connection. It's possible VP could get into this, but it's a very risky move.
Also, apparently, we're deflating the channel point economy because apparently there was a channel point goal set up for the chat. Donate 100,000 channel points to turn me upside down, and my world's about to get flipped. That was the easiest 100K the channel has ever spent.
Oi, oi, oi.
Warpstone combo, and that looks to be a potentially very dead Obichem. Drops the shift right after, and okay.
Oh, the team's there.
Off the shift with the time wall. Actually able to get away. The power of shift, which more and more people clamoring for nerfs on nowadays. Something
shift
about
is the most broken item. It is too good. It is just way too good to be it's in a team play environment. I think in pubs maybe not as insane, but in the team play environment, having like 2 seconds for your teammates to come help you that the enemy team can't do anything to you is like a game-changing situation. Big parry from Mikhail's, counter parry though from the Yamatos, and he with the double outplay, very nice stuff. Good heads up counter.
It's been a tough game for Mikhail S, and I think a good portion of that is just simply the Shiv punishing the burst damage, and Yamato space warp deep over and in. Power slash finishes off the deal. The burst on the Zergy, sublime. The overseas ABL connection. VP down 3 and 1 win. This is going to give them a definitive advantage in the game now, Jake.
Yeah, they could just go for the mid-boss here. It's really just their choice about which objectives they want to take, whether it's Urn, mid-boss, walkers, they're all on the menu. Maybe 1win are just going to have their cake and eat it too. That's the second side walker falling, well, presumably. Okay, yep, there it goes. Midnight, I mean, all walkers down here, and they could even look for some more kills. They have another 15 seconds to work with. Sharik trades one into empty dreams, though. Hold on, the spawn timers are getting low for VP. 1win team, it's a little bit scary, but they have the confidence to take down Sharik before falling back.
Well, we've now hit VP completely wiped out. 1win up 30K. Dan, how'd we get here?
I mean, it's just unrelenting aggression, which actually, this is the thing I was saying about that first map, where there's a spot where 1win just want to keep playing off the momentum, but they got stalled out, and VP were able to dictate it instead. But 1win, obviously, the synergies on these fights and how they were able to consistently push just kept having them at an advantage, even in even numbers in the earlier stages, where they're able to take down all those towers. And there's a really big fight here, so I'm just going to shot.
Dan goes away. He has 1win. Looks to secure the deal. Zergy dropping the Storm Cloud. Has to immediately cancel. Didn't like his positioning. Looking damage the other way, though. ABL able to get caught. VP's making this fight work. I think they landed a pretty good affliction to start things out. But Zenya, too strong. Comes on in, hits 2, makes it 3. The stat difference perhaps too overwhelming at this point. And the Owl out here, the chase down survivors, looking for Zergy. Zergy may live to tell the tale, but it's tough. I mean, 1 for 3. As VP, that's not going to get you back into the game, Jake, even though you have to try and take those opportunities.
No, you're just falling further and further behind. It's a nice fake of the mid-boss by 1win team, who are now going to go capture it for real. VP may have to go for a steal. The well-played spam is out. Uh-oh, problems. All right, and they're going for this, though.
Steal it. Let's see how this goes. And they get the steal! Mikhail S on the steal! The real play for VP now is a spam well played in turn. Let them know. 1 well played for another. But VP, they get the steal. They lose 3 in turn.
And they kill Zenya, though. I mean, that's big. Like, that's the dream scenario for VP. They had to make that play happen. I love the way they executed that, too. They send Sharik in, said, hey, guys, look at me. I'm going to go for the steal. And then Mikhail S over the top, slips in, grabs the rejuve. And that's kind of secured like a last life here for VP. I think the game maybe would have gone against them had they not gotten the rejuve, but I think if they can win a team fight off the back of this rejuve or get the farm back in position, and hold on, Mirage.
Mirage is running for his very life right now, and Tornado might have done
Tornado. Yeah, okay, this should get him out.
My only complaint with VP in the last play is they didn't do the counter well played after getting the steal. That would have been, if nothing else, an aura moment. But in terms of actually winning the game, still getting the steal, pretty good at keeping in contest, even though they are still in a pretty significant hole.
Yeah, this will be a key moment for VP. I feel like they need to get some kind of a team fight. They're trying to posture for one now. Swap, of course, not yet available. But 1win team are very confident too. I mean, they don't think they should really be, frankly, too scared of this rejuve. They're still looking at a 30K soul advantage. Pound for pound, they are a lot stronger at this phase of the game. I think it's only the pressure of the situation bearing down on them that puts VP in a spot where they're obliged to take a fight.
Caught Mo gambling for a second there. Meanwhile, Yamato going on N1 to get a chunk of 7. Shout Transformation out in response to the Stack's charge. Listic meanwhile on the Xenon. Zergy though cannot get out in time. 1 for 1. VP a little bit perhaps happier with the trade just because Rejuve. But
yeah, trades are good. Rejuve, and you're far behind.
Yeah.
2 for 1 may not be good enough. And you
just
trouble.
look at E-Shift is a good item, but can it get you out of this? The answer is no. As the Owl, quick little time wall distraction, still guided missile in for Listic. And at least
it's just across the map. It's everywhere all at once here for 1win. They don't even need to group up. They're just so strong as individuals. They're splitting. They're creating opportunities individually across the map, and all the lanes are still pressured against VP. I mean, VP have Rejuve. Their waves should be pushing out here, but they're not. 1win is just confidently standing on waves. They know how big of a lead that they have right now, and they're playing like it. They're really keeping the leverage on. Now this Urn pickup looks like the flashpoint for another fight. VP have a couple Rejuves left, but maybe they just feel it. They got to force. They got to keep playing to win. I like that they're taking this risk, but 1win could close out the game here.
All in for the Urn. All teams on deck. 6 on 6. Empty Dreams immediately punishing Listic. 2 down, 4 VP as 1win aggressively goes in, flexing their stat advantage. Is it going to be enough? Anvil onto Paradox and back overseas, continuing to just crunch on damage with the power shots. With 4 dead for VP, the Urn going to be picked up here by 1win. And I don't think they care too much about bringing the enemy territory here, Jake. If they even bring everyone for it at all, they're going to do a little bit of splitting here. 2 to 3 at the Urn, and then the rest in lane.
Yeah, they could, they can do essentially whatever they want on the map right now. I think maybe VP can go for something on this Urn drop, but it's just scary, right? Like, it's scary to come out of the map and get stuck into a fight, especially trying to chase a Kelvin who could just drop the Urn and rip an ult on you and buy time for his teams to come in. But one team has said they're just baiting the Urn here, no intention to this. They are going to go for this fight on the Kelvin.
He's going to have to shelter. He's going to shelter the buy time. I think Flammable himself. Well, actually, Yamato got in there. Yamato got in there. It's the death cage. Yamato slash it up, takes down D-Mob. It actually kind of works out in favor of 1win. Again, Kelvin just able to stay alive because of the stat difference. ABL picking up the Urn in turn. VP loses D-Mob off the gank attempt. It's going to go even more. Shriek can't get out of there. They lose the Urn turn in on top. And VP, the series started out in their favor, but 1win proving right now, Jake, why they are the champion. Real close to being the 4-time back-to-back champion here in Deadlock Fight Night EU.
Yeah, monster performance here from 1win team. They took an L in game 1, but all signs are pointing to them closing out this series. The reverse sweep 2-1, retaining the 4th championship in a row for this 1win squad as they have cemented their place on the top of Europe. They're going to fall back for now, clear off the waves. I mean, there's a wave crashing on the Walker here. I think you absolutely should fall back, farm the map, clean this one up. But VP, they know what's going on. They know the writing on the wall. They've done this exact play many times before. Paradox on the side lane. This looks like a suicidal play, right? Surely this doesn't work.
Sometimes he got talented. He's like, no. He's living.
He's rescue beam.
The rescue beam just does enough as he dances between the Walker's legs.
Oh my God.
D-Mob is still
toying with him.
Okay. Well, frozen shelter into Owl. Wow. When you really want to make D-Mob die, you do it with style.
I mean, honestly, YOLO from D-Mob, like, you got to do crazy things like that because we're at a point where you're at like a 50% soul deficit. That is untenable at this phase of the game. Vindicta doing her best to pressure the Walker. Can't even really safely zip here. Has knockdown on her. And hold on, GT on the chase now. This could get scary for
I don't think
Vindicta. Yeah, she's done, man. Now,
you look at that,
push
like,
coming down the mid lane here. This one's over, baby. 1win. Want to claim this trophy. Want to claim that $1,000 cash prize.
1win on the final approach. A patron is getting pummeled. VP, they looked intimidating, but this week will not be the week that they reclaim the throne. 1win, throwing it on in, and they might be sponsored by the org 1win, but the way they're looking right now, you at least got to call them 4win. 4 times back-to-back, your champions of Deadlock Fight Night Europe. Here, the 22nd show, presented by Intel.
And, I've just been so continually impressed by this team where, for quite a long time, they were kept down by VP and we thought, okay, VP are just going to be on top forever. And then once 1win have been able to kind of flip the script and get a bit of an edge, it feels like they haven't stopped innovating. They haven't stopped pushing themselves. The fact that VP could come in with a game 1, like clearly a very prepared draft strategy and just eke out a win over 1win, and then 1win react in the space of a few minutes between games. They make the changes they need, and then they come out with 2 decisive back-to-back wins in the next 2 maps. This is a team that is way more than a flash in the pan at this point. They're here to stay on top. The individual mechanical play, I mean, when the Shiv, the Yamato, the Great Talon, just everything firing on all cylinders for one win this game.
Yeah, I mean, again, if anyone was still out there thinking it was a fluke or that, VP will easily take it back, that's not the case. It's been going on for a month now, and one win has all the traits you would expect a champion to have. But we got to bring back in Dan. Dan, even mid-game, you're just looking at the macro play coming on in from one win, and you're beside yourself at just how good it was.
I mean, the cool thing, I think, like you guys were highlighting, is that they've got this streak established. Ever since we went to 3 lanes, they kind of had the best take on the theory in terms of like how you should draft. And even though they were kind of figuring it out, they actually lost a bit. I think they got kind of smacked down by VP at one point. They kept like refining it. And you're kind of seeing the results of all of that right now, because they're so smooth. The game plan's so smooth, and you can really see why the GT is high priority, because the extra lane control that you get in the early game when all the lanes are so important was so powerful. Because if you're losing a lane, it creates that. I think you highlighted it, ZP. You just hit somebody with an out, and it can be enough to just send them away from the lane, and that has massive like plus EV implications for winning that lane, getting the next Guardians down. And then once all those Guardians are down, like they got 3 Guardians down to none in this game, they just know how to keep the pressure on. And what's interesting, and I'm curious what you guys think about this, is that within the style of play that they have too, they don't really, once they get that control and they get those Guardians down and they get the pressure on, the sole advantage isn't actually that big, but because they're not farming up very much as they're doing it. But they are completely suffocating their opponent, so it seems to work.
I think that's a great point about the early game global presence from the Great Talon. Like, we think about Mirage as really the definitive global hero, because the late game, you're split pushing, forcing objectives elsewhere on the map and then TPing to be in the fight. But honestly, maybe more significant is the fact that you can control other lanes from your own. Like, even Mirage early game, you don't really want to be TPing across the map in the early game. Like, it doesn't feel that good. Like, you can do it sometimes, but without the side to side TPs, it's hard to get back to your lane that you came from. Where Great Talon doesn't really leave, just extends some of the resource to either take a winning lane and turn it into real kills and tower pressure, or take a losing lane and stabilize it for them, clearing a wave for them, putting some damage on those heroes that are starting to put that pressure on. And the ability at this level for teams to kind of call and use those resources, it means you're just always using your ulti on cooldown on Great Talon in the early game. And I think there's really not many other heroes that are truly like that can almost like on command press ulti guaranteed and just keep that cooldown cycling 24/7, keep the pressure on the opponents.
Well, time for our player of the match presented by Intel. And from the Bebop to the Talon, there was only one choice we could have here, and that was overseas. And, we chose Talon for that, but I actually feel like the story was Bebop on the map too, because there's going to be a whole lot of that in this clip. So we can go that far back anyways, but overseas was massive. Can't say enough about him, where even though we talk about ABL a lot on one win, whether it be consistency on the Great Talon or just one of the best Bebop performances we saw back in map 2, he was a force of nature this series.
Yeah, and even in game 1 that VP ended up winning, VP really had to pull out all the stops. They had to go so deep into their bag to win this game 1. Overseas, game 2, man, he came out with a vengeance on the Bebop, really made Virtus.pro put some respect on the name, and just so much presence in game 3 on the GT. I mean, very low death game here, very consistent owl pressure, and then the charge shots just like landing them constantly. It's just a nuisance for VP to deal with. They just didn't have the answers here.
Yeah, it's so impressive to see this how this team operates, because when you peel the layers of the onion back, you're just finding absolute class all across the roster, everyone doing an excellent job. And overseas has some really interesting roles. Like the Bebop one is the most interesting, because I think there's no one that's going to be as specialist on that role in the team as opposed to him, because obviously GT, we saw ABL have a big game on the GT as well, although of course we saw in this game 3 we saw overseas playing it absolutely perfectly, like you guys described, in terms of how it needs to contribute to the overall strategy. But yeah, the Bebop threat of overseas, I feel like it puts teams in a really weird position, because Bebop is a very good hero, and so you kind of have to consider banning it at some point, either in the first stage or the second stage of your ban. So you actually have to think about that. And if you don't ban it, it actually creates this world where overseas can really wreck you on the Bebop and completely change the dynamic of the early laning phase. So it's really scary to have a player like overseas who's capable of playing the roles that he can in the ways that he does.
Also, controversial observation, but as it turns out, a Mirage who's getting tons of room made for them by their front line, by the GT. As it turns out, they do a lot of damage with that souls that they accumulate. Empty Dreams crushing, where, you know, this is what happens when you look at the soul cast, like, you know, our Mirage is about 7k ahead of the rest of the game. I wonder what's going to happen. It's like, well, Jake, he's going to pump. That's what's going to happen. Yeah,
I mean, Mirage has just been like, I'm even surprised it wasn't going so early in the first pick. I guess like the you know, laning potential from GT, that the value that you get consistently controlling other lanes is so good. But we also just see Mirage look like the most consistent of the late game gun focused carries. I mean, I say gun focused, but it ends up being pretty hybrid often between your gun and your spirit damage. So you're hard to build armors against. And then the threat of like being able to create a stalemate situation on the Urn and just have Mirage like pressuring a walker on the other side of the map. There's just not much the enemy can do, or it just requires them to make perfect decisions every little second of, okay, we're going to send someone to defend, but then they need a TP back, and then they need a TP and defend again. And like, you're just always in the dance with Mirage, and it feels like Mirage always has the strategic upper hand with that Traveler ability.
You know, it's interesting. I thought for sure I'd be flipped by now. Maybe we're waiting until after our interview where, do you believe it is just about ready? I see Zenon in the green room. So it is ready. Zenon, I want to say, first off, congratulations once again. You know, 1 win, 4-time champions here at Deadlock Fight Night Europe. And, you know, I got to ask, we saw some adaptations in from VP where, you know, they're prioritizing some of the early game a little bit more, but, you know, it felt like you guys kind of recognized what they're going for in the draft, made your own adjustments in Map 2 and beyond, and, you know, it didn't really seem to phase you guys for the overall series.
Hey guys, yeah, draft were evolving not only this series, but during the week of practice against them. So yeah, it's like going back and forth lately. Some heroes getting higher prio, some going lower up to the lowest tier, like 5th, 6th. So yeah, it was tricky.
Yeah, I'm curious, you know, you guys obviously must practice against them a lot, you know, being 2 of the top teams in Europe. How does that play into like the draft and the game throughout the series? Is there a lot of like mind games going on? How much do you guys like understand each other and learn from each other as teams through all that practice?
It's really hard because, yeah, since we are practicing only against them, sort of, sometimes party as well. So it not involves only draft itself, but also the way you put your heroes on the map. So sometimes it's really going crazy gamba, and like sometimes you can face super easy matchup, and same heroes can face difficult matchups. So it's kind of don't want to say random, but it is actually.
So what is your take on the state of Deadlock right now? Do you like the direction Deadlock's going in? Do you think there's anything that you feel like you would want to see changed, or what are your thoughts in general about how Deadlock is developing as a game right now?
Lately, it became to go slower as it used to be in the last year. But the direction they took, I like, since the game is hard itself in the core. So I'm really open to make the game easier for everyone to join, since I really want this game to pop off. And if this game is that hard right now, it might be not that big as if they lower the entry rate, like entry knowledge, you know. So I would like to see some balance patches, same things with like quick buys, quality of life stuff. So yeah.
So
yeah, I think. Go ahead, ZP.
This is an interesting question. I know have been on people's minds where EU team-wise, you know, there's kind of been a holy trinity that's developed between 1 win, VP, and Paravision. You know, there's rumblings that there may be some other tournaments coming out soon in addition to DFN. Are there any other teams in EU people should be on the lookout for, or do you think right now, you know, there's those 3 and then the rest? You know, any upsides for people to look forward to as we look to the next month of Deadlock?
As I mentioned, we're playing against only 3 teams. I mean 2, since we are the 3rd. So it's really hard to say about good teams who is capable to do some fight. But I think, I'm not sure how it called. I think Piggy has a team. I think they called Atlas. Not sure. So I think this team was the closest to put the competition. So I would look forward to see them maybe there.
All right. Anyone else any final questions before we let Xenon go and celebrate the 4-time win of One Win here in DFN?
Just congrats, man. 4 times in a row is pretty impressive. It's like way beyond an upset at this point. You guys are certifiably on top. So congrats on the 4th consecutive win here in DFN.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Xenon. Well, this is just half the show, gentlemen. EU gets to celebrate their returning champion in One Win 4 times in a row. But if you're just tuning into the show, we got a whole nother half a show to go. North America is going to be up next on the docket. Same deal. Start off with the challenging match, and then the winner goes on to the money match to play against the indomitable Hydra Nation. This is Deadlock Fight Night, now switching to North America, still presented by Intel, and we'll see you after the break.